Dr. Fauci gets accused of literally killing puppies, and that's no joke. That's actually what they're accusing him of right now. So we'll talk just a bit about what's going on there and what that means and where we go from here. The Biden town hall gets weirder and weirder the more we analyze it. So we'll talk just a bit about what's going on with that and what that means. A new migrant caravan is coming up across the border. So we'll go over a little bit of what that means and what we can expect to see coming up off of that. And a man is arrested in Los Angeles after driving his car into an anti-vaxxer protest. Or at least what they say is anti-vaxxer. Of course, this is anti-mandate, but leave it to the news media. It is going to be all this and more. Let's go, Brandon. I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Good morning, Edheads, and welcome to Contemporary. My name is Jay Edgar, and oh my god, do we have a massive, massive show today. We are going to run long, but it's Monday, so I don't have to run back off and go straight to work after this. But oh my god, I mean, they've been busy over the weekend, and I actually looked for stuff that, okay, what can we cut? I have a good platter of stuff all ready to go for tomorrow already, because there was just so much stuff off today. And I looked at some of the stuff and said, okay, some of this, it's not going to age out in a day. So we will definitely go and check that out. Also, a couple other things to go on. First off, we've got the pumpkin here, and there's going to be a base on that come tomorrow. My Halloween costume stuff is supposed to show up here in later on today, so we'll be that'll be all set up, but it'll be a surprise, so you guys aren't going to get to see what my Halloween costume is until we get to that point here. My glasses are filthy, by the way, and I can see it in the shot as well. I can see where they're all clouded up, so yeah, we're going to get through that as well. But yeah, this is such a huge news day. There are over 40 articles up toward the top over here, ready to go, and we will plow through all of them. A couple of them are just pictures and illustrations and fun stuff off of this. This is going to be a fun news cycle, but it's going to be a long one. I'm not going to sit you here for 2 hours plus and not entertain you. But we are going to get into it here. Let's get started, shall we? I'm going to bring the music up just a little bit. Not quite that far. That's the thing with the YouTube slider. It's a little bit sensitive, and we don't want to get it up too loud. But all right, let's get into it, shall we? All right. Let's get the live chat up here so I can see what you guys are doing. Say good morning to everybody out here, and let's get through it. Let's do this. There we go. Let's get started off at the beginning here, and let's go. Alright, before we do anything, make sure you guys head on over and click on that turnsofpagesproductions.com website. It's going to be a great time, and we're going to feature such great shows as The Daily Ignoramus, The Breakdown with Birkenhoff, The R-Rated Conservative, The Freckles and Fritz Show, and The Porch Boys. So go and check that out, plus another show will be coming up and joining us as we go, as we get started. And it's going to be a great time. We're going to get some written news articles and everything else. And due to a canceled flight, which remember all the drama we saw with that last week, the canceled flights with Southwest and Delta and everybody else, due to a canceled flight, we actually do not get to sit down and talk with our great creator, Wyatt Birkenhoff, tonight. So instead, Bobby Joe, will be coming in and joining us, the designer of the website, and she'll be coming and promoting her work, plus we'll be talking about the news. So check out the Red and Ed Show here at 5:30 Central Time on this same channel. Come and check it. It's going to be an awesome time. Alright, and if you guys do want to come and help out, we are still stalled out at the $500 mark. Plus what I have put in on the background here. But if you guys could go ahead and throw $1, throw a $5, throw a $10 into the GoFundMe that we have going on for this. We are up to $500 raised for our goal, which means that we can at least go and get the web hosting done But we can come out here and drop this in the chat for you guys. If you guys could throw a little bit, or if you throw a Buy Me a Coffee, a PayPal donation, or any other donation now until we get out to the end of this fundraiser here, I will match. I will take that out of my account and put it back in, and I will match all the fees. So your donation will be your whole donation. That all the fees will come out of my pocket, so you don't have to worry about that. PayPal will get their own, yes, but I will match up to your original donation to get that in there, because we want to get this started. We want to make sure Bobby Joe gets paid, because we like Bobby Joe around here. Let's do finance. Starting with the Dow. The Dow had a roller coaster day, winding up a little bit up, but for the most part just staying even throughout the day. It is at 35,677.02 on the open, so it looks like the futures also look like they were pointing up here. It went up on Friday, 73.94 points, or 0.21%. On the Bitcoin, your Bitcoin is at 62. Let's get that a refresh, because I pulled that last night. Your Bitcoin went up overnight here. The Instagram video is already over. That's lame. That's fine. I guess we'll have to go this way here. The Bitcoin is at $62,997 US dollars and 40 US cents. So, still kind of holding steady. We've dropped off a little bit from the 64,000, but we'll see where this goes, what holds steady with this, where the debt ceiling goes off of this, and where the inflationary spending goes from that. You'll notice they got really quiet about the debt ceiling here pretty quickly. I think they're going to try and sneak something in on the dead of the night where you don't know what's going on. So we will continue to watch that as well. We'll do some more homework and do better at making sure that we touch on debt ceiling and infrastructure and human infrastructure bill news. All right, looking in at your metal prices for the day versus Friday. Copper is still on the downswing. Steel is on the up, and aluminum is holding pretty well steady. They're still saying it's up, but, you know, not really. Looking at your individuals, all coppers are down. BX steel is down. Brass shells are down. Light iron, number one steel, cast iron, rotors, complete car, shreddable steel, stainless steel are all up, so it's just BX that's on the way down. On your aluminum, siding is down. Copper and aluminum fin radiators are down, which also have copper in them. Aluminum radiators themselves are down. Cans, sheet aluminum rims are up, so basically it's what they want to roll with, not what they want to cast with. Coming back up out of this. Electric motors are down, ballasts are up, lead is down, batteries are down. Most of your catalytic converters are up, large foreign cats are down, compressors are down, alternators are down, carbide is up, and that's what we're going to come up with for that. Let's look in at your finance for the morning, starting with IBD. Dow Jones Futures, Apple, Microsoft lead 7 key earnings. Tesla, PayPal, Trump stock, DWAC rise. From Ed Carson. I know I feel like I'm rushing through a little bit of this here, but we have got a lot. I mean, you can see off the top here, we have got a lot. Dow futures were a little changed Monday morning, while S&P 500 futures and NASDAQ futures rose slightly. Tesla jumped on a reported Hertz order, despite FSD beta setback. PayPal said it's not seeking to buy Pinterest. Trump stock continued to rise. The stock market rally had solid gains last week, with the Dow Jones and S&P 500 hitting record highs. The NASDAQ composite moved closer to record levels, despite rising Treasury yields and Friday's big sell-off by Intel and Snap. Earnings season hits full force this coming week, with hundreds of companies reporting. Apple, Microsoft, AMD, GM, Upwork, ServiceNow, and Google parent Alphabet are 7 big names on tap that are in or near buy zones. These names could move markets themselves, but they can also have big impact on related stocks. Snap stock's impact on digital ad firms such as Google stock showed. Investors should be ready to take advantage of earnings week. Don't let earnings week take advantage of you. That sounded dirty. How short was her skirt? Exactly. Hertz will order 100,000 Tesla EVs for $4.2 billion. So watch your Tesla stock going up. Bloomberg News reported customers will be able to use Tesla superchargers, while Hertz will be building its own charging network. Over the weekend, Tesla raised Model S and Model X prices in the US by $5,000. That comes days after US Model 3 and Model Y prices were hiked yet again by $2,000. So that is $7,000 more that the Tesla models are out of your reach. Just so you know. Morgan Stanley, Adam Jonas, raised his Tesla stock price target by 30% to $1,200, citing extraordinary sales growth. On Sunday, Tesla CEO Elon Musk said the just released Tesla FSD Beta 10.3 was seeing some issues, so the EV maker was rolling back to Beta 10.2. Tesla appeared to disable FSD Beta entirely, at least some drivers. The rollback followed many Tesla drivers complaining that significant FSD Beta issues, including surprise emergency braking. Surprise! You're stopped in the middle of the highway. Early Monday, Musk said Tesla was rolling out FSD Beta 10.3.1. See, the thing with me, and this is the same thing with a vaccine, with all the issues that we're totally not seeing, don't ban me, Susan, but in a video game, if there was a vaccine out there, rather than giving it out to the people and letting them be the experimentation, rather than letting people buy this luxury product or get this totally free vaccine, rather than doing all that, you would think that they would test this in a full controlled environment until they got all these issues rolled out, rather than letting the people who buy this be the guinea pig. But what do I know? I'm just a guy who yells into a microphone. But if you are driving a ton of steel and other various plastic components down the road, you would think you want to know already that the FSD, the self-driving, works the way that you want it to. That's just my opinion, man. I might be wrong. I might be totally off base. I might be in the space where, we can only figure this out if we let millions of people have this, and then figure out the details after several of them get hurt or killed. Maybe that's really the plan. We'll see. The FSD beta rollback and rollout came just days after the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration asked Tesla why it did not issue an official safety recall for a recent autopilot software fix that conducted over the air. The HTSA letter also sought more documents regarding FSD beta, including test procedures, as it expands to an autopilot probe. And see, that's part of the reason too. Now, there was a tweet that went out, and I responded to it of what would it take to get you to buy an electric vehicle? And it's I think it's What's Up West Side was the tweet, the tweeter that put out the tweet. And I said, honestly, it's just, waiting for the performance, obviously, seeing where it goes. And somebody got all butthurt and said, electric vehicles have more performance than gas vehicles. I understand that. I understand how electric vehicles and full-fielded electric motors work. The biggest challenge is keeping from breaking axle shafts in the process at this point. Because you can full-field that thing out, you can full-field that electric motor completely wide open and get way more torque than you can get out of this. But I'm thinking battery life in ice-cold fucking Wisconsin year over year. Because if I have to replace batteries every other year, it's not worth it to me because those batteries are fucking expensive. It's not worth it to me at that point. The performance of get up and go in the cold, because electric motors don't like to run when it's cold. 4x4 option would be nice. A nice raised up 4x4 that I can go ahead and drive to my mom and dad's house, which is up on a hill. I don't see any of those out there on the road just yet, although the Lightning looks like it's probably going to be maybe the first of this. So go forward. And then just time. Just, working the bugs out and stuff like this. But the thing that holds me back from this, and I didn't say this on the tweet, is the fact that they're trying to put this autopilot into so many of these. And I don't like that. I don't like it when my traction control in my truck tries to take control of the throttle and the traction when I know better on how that thing works. And that's just one system. Imagine letting the entire car take over. No, I'm not that kind of person. But that's what we see coming off of that. Tesla stock rose 4% in pre-market trade. Shares surged 7.9% last week to $909.68, clearing a $950 Cup base buy point on Friday and hitting a record high. Tesla is in a buy range and showing strong accumulation, but Tesla stock has rallied for 9 straight weeks and is 18% above its 10-week moving average. Meanwhile, expect Donald Trump's SPAC to remain hotly traded this week. Digital World acquisition exploded about 7% Thursday on news that it would be the SPAC merger partner for Trump's new social media venture. DWAC stock then shot up 107% to $94.20 on Friday, but it closed far below Friday's morning peak of $175, though not at session lows. DWAC stock rose modestly Monday morning in active trade. Could DWAC stock go higher? Absolutely. But it could also plunge without a proper entry or any fundamentals by any... Jesus Christ. Because it has to do with Trump, it's a meme stock because it's not the investors that are buying it, it's all the MAGA people. Fuck off. PayPal won't buy Pinterest. PayPal stated it's not pursuing an acquisition of the social scrapbooking site Pinterest at this time. This follows days after reports that PayPal was in the late stages of talks to buy PINS stock for $45 billion. PayPal, which tumbled last week, jumped Monday morning. Pinterest stock fell sharply. Microsoft, ServiceNow, Google, Tesla, PayPal, and AMD are on the IBD leaderboard. Now stock is on Swing Trader. Microsoft stock, ServiceNow, PayPal, Google are on the IBD long-term leaders. AMD, Google, and Upworks stock are on the IBD 50. Apple and Microsoft stock are on the Dow Jones, S&P 500, NASDAQ Composite, and are the only 2 members of the $2 trillion pre-market cap club. On your futures, Dow futures were just above fair value, S&P 500 futures climbed 0.1%, and NASDAQ 100 futures rose 0.25%. Tesla and PayPal stock buoyed NASDAQ futures. Crude oil futures and copper prices rose slightly overnight, so your gas is going up. The 10-year Treasury yield nudged up 1.66%. And remember, overnight action in Dow futures and elsewhere doesn't necessarily translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. Alright, so that's what we see coming out of that. A lot of information here, and my opinions on Tesla stock. Like I say, I don't think that electric vehicles are a bad thing. I think electric vehicles are cool. I'm just not so keen on so much of the vehicle systems taking over for my 20 years of driving experience. 25 at this point. Holy shit. Because I went for almost 20 years without having the traction control and all the other stuff that goes in the vehicle that controls what you do. I know how to get out of a skid. I've practiced with this. I don't even like ABS, dude. To give you an idea on how I feel about the auto self-driving stuff, I don't even like anti-lock brakes. But there again, that comes from a very, very large field of experience driving vehicles that don't have it and getting in and out of sticky situations with them. Let's grab one from Fox Business. Stock futures pause after an autoplay plays a video. Shut up. Stock futures pause after Dow hits record. From Wall Street Journal via Fox Business. U.S. stock futures were little changed after the Dow Jones Industrial Average closed this prior week at a record high. Futures on the S&P 500 strengthened 0.1%, and futures tied to the Dow Jones Industrial were flat. Changes in equity futures don't necessarily predict moves after the opening bell. In Europe, stocks Europe 600 meandered after the flatlined morning trade as gains in consumer staples and healthcare sectors were offset by losses in industrials and real estate sectors. I can imagine what real estate is like in the UK. Oi, mate! You got a license to own that kind of thing? Are you a lord or something? Do you have peasants sitting in here with you? Are you going to be a landowner here? Oi! You all be in the House of Lords! The UK's FTSE 100, which dominated by large international businesses, gained 0.4%. Other stock indices in Europe were mixed as the UK's FTSE 950 climbed 0.2%. Germany's DAX was largely flat, and France's CAC 40 was broadly flat. The Swiss franc fell 0.1% against the dollar, with 1 franc buying 109. The euro was flat against the US dollar, with 1 euro buying 116. The British pound was up 0.1% against the dollar, with 1 pound buying 138. In commodities, international benchmark Brent crude slipped 0.4% to 85.19 a barrel. Gold rose 0.1% to 17.97.90 a troy ounce. The German 10-year bond yield was up minus 0.091%, and 10-year gilt yield strengthened to 1.173. The yield on 10-year U.S. Treasury edged up to 1.661% from 1.654% on Friday. Bond yields moved in the opposite directions to prices. So, if you buy a bond, you're going to get a return for now, but I wouldn't put any money in a bond right now either. I think that would be a stupid idea. Alright, with that, we're going to get into the news of the day, but we're going to start with a little bit of fun stuff today because there's just so much stuff in here that is just so massively stupid for the week. So much that's so massively stupid, so we are going to do this instead. We're going to start with a video here, and then I've got a meme for you to start with as well. So let's do the video first, and I just sneak teased you the meme, but I'm sorry, I watched this video and I laughed my ass off. I absolutely did. So we're going to start with that instead. Let's drop the music here so we can do more music instead.
When I say climate change, what do you think of? Blah, blah, blah. There is no planet B. There is no planet blah. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. We can no longer let the people in power decide. Blah, blah, blah. Did you hear me? What do we want? Blah, blah, blah. But it starts with blah. When do we want it? Blah, blah, blah. This is all we hear. What do we want? Blah, blah, blah. What do you think of? They say blah. When do we want it? Blah, blah, blah. Blah, 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 blah. This is all we hear from our so-called leaders. Words that sound great, but just look at the numbers. We can no longer let the people in power decide. What do you think? It's not blah, blah, blah. Of course we need constructive dialogue, but they now have 30 years of blah, blah, blah. They invite cherry-picked young people to meetings like this to pretend that they are listening. This is not about some expensive, politically correct green act of blah, blah, blah. There is no planet B, there is no planet blah. Build back better, blah, blah, blah. Green economy, blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. Did you hear me? What do we want? Blah, blah, blah. But it starts with blah. When do we want it? Blah, blah, blah. This is all we hear. What do we want? Blah, blah, blah. What do you think of? They say blah. When do we want it? Blah, blah, blah. Blah, 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 blah. Fighting climate change, corporate innovation, cooperation. They say they want solutions, and they're not holding leaders accountable for their...
So, this is from the Remix Bros, obviously, which I featured some of their music before. It is hilarious to see what they do, and they just take with stuff out of the news and political stuff off of this, and then come back and remix it out. They are very nonpartisan. They make fun of both sides equally. They made fun of Trump. They made fun of neocon, war-loving fucking assholes. They make fun of neoliberals. They make fun of Greta. They make fun of Kamala. They make fun of everybody. So if you have not checked out the Remix Bros over on YouTube, it is definitely worth it. Definitely go and check them out. And I mean, this is a lot of the mentality of the millennial generation too, is what do we want? Blah, blah, blah. What? But I mean, it's interesting to watch this too, because I mean, you look at some of this here, some of the video here, you see Greta dancing. This is not a girl with Asperger's like they tried to tell us that she was. Yes, she has some sort of something going on with her where she looks like she's incredibly younger than she actually is, because, I mean, look at her at the podium here. That doesn't look like a 19-year-old woman to me. That looks like a 12-year-old. Which I think is the point, because then they come back and say, oh, well, you can't criticize her because she's so young, she's just a kid. Regardless, that is probably one of the funnier remixes these guys have done. Yeah, the Saki ones. The Circle Back one is one of my favorite from Saki. But, they have them all over the place. The Alex Jones one, Q Shaman one, I like that one too. That one's funny. Because you're lying! You're full of shit! And from our friend Arvold over here, the meme He credits to me for my decision and my suggestion to make it, but I credit to him because when I looked at this, all I pictured was the white text, the big block letters, white text on the top and bottom. With the sign that the guy is holding, that was the best touch to this. That is a beautiful touch. This is a beautiful meme. It's hilarious. It's true, and it makes people think. This is what democracy looks like. And we'll be talking about that town hall a little bit later on in the show, too. But thank you, Arvolt, for that. That is a great meme. And I do hope it gets shared far and wide. I've shared it on, I retweeted it on Twitter. I don't know if I shared it directly. I can do that later on. But I've also shared it out on my Instagram as well, and it's in my Discord. So, yeah. This is what democracy looks like. Thank you, Arvolt. All right. Let's start with the title card. Let's get into that. Let's get some music back up here. From Changing America, On the Hill, bipartisan legislatures demand answers from Fauci on cruel puppy experiments. From Christian Spencer. A bipartisan letter demands answers from the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases and President Biden's chief medical advisor. The White Coast Waste Project, the nonprofit organization that first pointed out that U.S. taxpayers were being used to fund the controversial Wuhan Institute of Virology, have now turned its sights on Anthony Fauci in another animal testing-related matter, infecting dozens of beagles with disease-causing parasites to test an experimental drug on them. House members, most of whom were Republicans, want Fauci to explain himself in response to allegations brought on by the White Coast Waste Project that involved drugging puppies. White Coast Waste claims that 44 beagle puppies were used in Tunisia, North Africa, laboratories, and some of the dogs had their vocal cords removed, allegedly so scientists could work without the incessant barking. Wow. This just gets worse and worse. Leading the effort is Representative Nancy Mace of South Carolina, writing a letter to the National Institutes of Health saying the chordectomies are cruel and reprehensible misuse of taxpayer funds. Our investigators show that Fauci's NIH division shipped part of a $375,800 grant to a lab in Tunisia to drug beagles and lock their heads in mesh cages filled with hungry sandflies so the insects could eat them alive. What the fuck? What? White Coast Waste told Changing America they also locked the beagles alone in cages in the desert overnight for 9 consecutive nights to use them as bait to attract infectious sandflies. Mace's letter was signed by Representative Cindy Axne, Cliff Bentz, Steve Cohen, Rick Crawford, Brian Fitzpatrick, Scott Franklin, Andrew Garbarino, Carlos Jimenez, Jimmy Gomez, Josh Gottheimer, Fred Keller, Ted Lieu, Lisa McLean, Nicole Maliotakis, Brian Mast, Scott Perry, Bill Posey, Mike Quigley, Lucille Roybal Allard, Maria Salazar, Terry Sewell, Daniel Webster, and Delegate Eleanor Holmes Norton of D.C. So, and the Changing America article says, well, this is just a massive Republican cover-up. No, I'm looking at these names here. DR, they're 50-50 so far. RR, R, R, D, R, D, R, 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 D, R, D, R, D. So, it's not like what Changing America said at the top was, this is mostly Republicans. It technically is mostly Republicans, but that margin is a lot slimmer than Changing America makes it out to be. I want to know answers. I want to know what's going on. Why? And the worst part, I mean, these things are suffering and they can't speak out again. You take the vocal cords out. And that's one of the things you hear on election season. Oh, candidate A wants to kill puppies. He thinks that kicking puppies is good. Candidate B will save all your puppies. When their messiah, the person they follow to the ends of the earth, get your vaccine. Literally, killed puppies. Not only killed them, tortured them. I'm sorry, there's got to be a better way for this. And yes, I would like to find a drug that would, for the people in the desert, repel or eliminate the effect of sandflies, of parasitic sandflies. I would like to see something like that. But not at the cost of taking the vocal cord out of a beagle and sticking the fucking thing in a cage out in the desert. That's not a cost I'm willing to accept to find this drug. I am willing to accept a lot of costs on a lot of things, a lot of heavy burdens, to advance society. I am a little bit ruthless at that point. This is not one of those costs. This is too far. And I think this is too far for a lot of people. Hell, what sticks on this is I'm willing to let them do human testing on convicts. Hey, you want to try this drug and see if it works off you? We'll give you a year off your sentence. Okay. Yes, you did hear that right, Chilaga. I had to read this article 3 times to believe it. This is one that I have pre-read. I don't usually pre-read, but this is one I have pre-read. I had to read this 3 times to believe it. And it's coming from The Hill, too, and their super progressive Changing America segment off of this. Dude, get this guy away from the government. Seriously. Oh my god. And just the wording in this. Allegedly, 44 beagle puppies were used in a North Africa lab. Some dogs had their vocal cords removed so scientists could work without incessant barking. Don't use dogs if you can't handle incessant barking. Alright, let's keep going. Let's talk about the town hall, starting with the New York Post and going back to our fun meme from here. Biden town hall prompts mockery, Beavis and Butthead comparisons from Kelly Pattison. President Biden is being dragged on social media after a moment in his CNN town hall performance that has users comparing him to the cartoon Beavis and Butthead. While listening to a question from CNN's Anderson Cooper, Biden stood on the stage with his arms bent in front of him and fists closed. Dozens of netizens took to Twitter, sharing an image of Biden in the position along with a picture of Beavis, who is known for the trademark jittery pose. Biden is straight comedy. Beavis. Former Australian NBA player Andrew Bogut tweeted with a laughing face emoji. Social media personality and commentator Mike Cernovich tweeted a video of Biden with his arms bent and asked, "What is Biden doing?" Dozens of Twitter users flooded Cernovich's replies, making the comparison between the president and the cartoon character. That, or he's about to transform into Cornholio, one user wrote, referencing Beavis' hyperactive alter ego that usually makes the gesture. TV, for my butthole! Others simply tweeted a doctored image of Biden from Thursday with Beavis' head digitally placed over his. Who did it better? One other user asked, with side-by-side photos. Hang on, we gotta drop the music because there's gonna be video here again.
You had told us at a town hall, I think it was in July, that this was just near-term inflation. The Wall Street Journal recently talked to like 67 financial experts who said that they saw high inflation going all the way or deep into 2022. About that, with just in terms of inflation, because you had told us at a town hall, I think it was in July, that this was just near-term inflation. The Wall Street Journal recently talked to like 67 financial experts who said that.
And maybe this is just a message. Maybe this is a coded message out here. Maybe Biden, he had a diarrhea moment. He made a poopy in his pants, and He actually really does need DP for his bunghole. Maybe that's what's happening here. But I mean, let's look at something, because I've seen some of this stuff here before. I have been fortunate enough that the majority of my grandparents have not had to go to a nursing home for whatever reason. My grandpa's been in and out a couple times just because of that. But for the most part, we haven't seen that. My great grandma, however, did have to go to a nursing home towards the end of life, and I saw that when I was younger. She went in when I was 12, and she passed away when I was 14. So I mean, I've seen that. I've seen her up there with that kind of thing here, but. And my grandmother she had Alzheimer's very badly towards the end, and she used to think that she got in the car and drove out and saw her sister, who had been long dead, that kind of stuff. But, I mean, if you walk through a nursing home and you see this kind of stuff, you see, people just stop, forget what they're doing, where they are. This is late-stage dementia, and we have the assurances and the reassurances for us that this is not the person who is actually in charge. This is the steward figurehead that they put up so that he didn't have to answer anything under executive privilege. And they can just wait for him to die in office, and then they don't have to worry about who put money into what coffer for the Hunter thing, which is, I still believe, is the reason that we're going through all this bullshit. I still believe that's the reason for this, but, I mean, it is. You see this stuff all the time in Alzheimer's patients in a nursing home. They stop in the middle of the hall. And they tense up a little bit, too, because they don't know what's going on, what they're doing, why they're there. And this is the kind of thing that we see off of this. This is scary stuff, the fact that this is the guy who is honk in charge. One Twitter user called for a live-action film or show of Beavis and Butthead featuring Biden and former President Donald Trump. Could you imagine that? God damn it! I want to see some tits, man! Shut up, Biden. Shut up, Biden. So that's what we're seeing coming off of that. Let's keep going here, because we got a bunch of stuff to get to. Let's talk a little bit more about the town hall. Let's throw some music back up. Fact check. Biden talked about corporations not paying a cent in town hall hand gesture moment. Yeah, that's the other one that they got him on. Because not only did he do his Beavis impression, his Cornholio impression, they caught him for this shit, apparently. From Reuters. A hand gesture U.S. President Joe Biden made during a CNN town hall in Baltimore on October 21st was in reference to corporations not paying taxes. Some social media users are isolating a screenshot of the moment from this context to claim it resembles a white supremacist symbol. Biden flashed the white power sign. Oh my god, a tweet with a screenshot from CNN broadcast reads. And there it is. Zero cents. That's what these corporations pay. Lips of TikTok says Biden flashed the white power sign while a black man was asking him a question. I'm literally shaking. You're not actually shaking. Footage of the moment shows Biden was responding to a question from the audience about taxes on the highest income earners in the country. Around timestamp 1403, he can be heard saying, "You have 55 corporations, for example, in the U.S. of America, not making over $40 billion, don't pay a cent. Not a single little red cent." He made the gesture pointed out on social media when saying, "Don't pay a cent." There is no indication the gesture was in any way connected with white power. A transcript of the event is viewable on CNN's website. See, and I don't have a problem with the fact that he used the OK sign, that he used the circle game sign. I don't have a problem with any of that because, like I say, they come out and say there was no indication that he was using this in a white power context. Okay, that's fair. There is no indication for that. You know who else didn't have an indication that he was using a white power context? The Cubs fan, who is now permanently banned from Wrigley. You remember that from a few years ago. I think I was still living in the other place at the time, in the old studio, when that one happened. Do you think that guy had an indication of white power? The guy who got fired because he was driving through his truck down the road. I think he was driving a company truck, and he had this thing hanging out the window with his fingers in a circle. Do you think that guy, who was Hispanic, had intentions of white power? No, but he got fired for it. It's another one of those situations where it's okay for Biden to do it because he has the right politics. He votes the right way in abortion. But if you or I do it, it should cost us our job. We shouldn't be allowed. I mean, what happened? You remember, what was it, a month ago? We had some fucking leftoid over on Twitch because it's always Twitch. And I was doing that when I was doing the Trump impression because I always do. It's always like this, okay? We're going to build a wall, okay? And we're going to make Mexico pay for it. And we're going to use it with American work because the Chinese work, okay, that is making us... What that's doing is just weakening our country, it's weakening our materials, so it's all going to be American-made steel, okay? And I got accused of doing the white power symbol for that, too. According to the ADL, the hand gesture, which the thumb and index finger touch while the other fingers of the hand are held outstretched, also commonly used as the OK gesture, has been linked to white nationalism since 2017 after hoax posts in 4chan promoted the gesture as a hate symbol. And that's the problem with this. Is they know it's a fucking hoax. They know the posts were a hoax. And they still consider this to be white power. Are you dumb? This is exactly what 4chan wanted you to do, was this kind of stupid shit. Alright, let's grab some more here. From Newsweek. Joe Biden Town Hall, 5 strange moments you might have missed. From Matt Cannon. President Biden held a town hall in Baltimore on Thursday evening. During the event, organized by CNN and hosted by Anderson Cooper, the president discussed China's aggression, abolishing the filibuster, and gas prices. He also shared details on the stalled negotiations to pass his multi-trillion-dollar social safety net. On the Build Back Better, Biden insisted he would not support a work requirement for the child tax credit, as sought by Senator Joe Manchin. He added that a paid parental leave provision has been reduced from 12 weeks to about 4 weeks. There were also several unusual moments. Here are a few. Number 1, the imaginary jetpack. I'm going to see if I can get that open. At a town hall, Biden suggested recent rising prices were only near-time inflation. Last week, economists told the Wall Street Journal that high inflation was likely to remain in 2022, and Cooper asked Biden whether or not he agreed. In the nearly 20 seconds it took to host to tee up the questions, Biden held his forearms out, with his elbows at right angles and fists clenched. Fucking seasonal allergies, I hate them all. Let's see if we can get this or not. We cannot. Oh, we can get to the CNN tweet, though. Or the CNN Twitter, the official account. Alright, screw it. Several viewers on Twitter said it looked like the president was holding an imaginary jetpack. No, that's not what they were saying on Twitter, trust me. Number 2, don't pay a cent. Yeah, we talked about that one already. Number 3, racing Colin Powell. Joe Biden spoke movingly about Colin Powell, who died this week following complications from the pinko fucking pox. The president shared a personal story about his friendship with Powell, revealing that the pair once raced on a Secret Service track. He had a brand new Corvette. His family bought him. His kids bought him. And I have a 67 Corvette 327. $3.50. Okay, you can't have both of those in the same place. And we raced. Asked who won, Biden replied, well, I won only because he was worried he was going to crash. I was going to crash into him. Yeah, I could see that. Biden misspeaks on Taiwan. We're going to talk about that later, but Biden was asked by an audience member about recent reports of China testing hypersonic missiles. The president said the U.S. has the most powerful military in the history of the world, adding that his concern was whether or not they're going to engage in activities that will put them in a position where they're going to make a serious mistake. We will talk about that in just a bit. And number 5, Biden forgets the name of Long Beach Port. Biden also discussed supply chain woes ahead of the holidays, but the president had to be rescued by Cooper when he appeared to briefly forget the name of the second largest port in America. 40% of all products are coming into the U.S. On the West Coast, go through Los Angeles, and what am I doing here? Said Biden. Cooper interjected, is it Long Beach? To which Biden replied, Long Beach, thank you. Yeah, this guy doesn't have Alzheimer's. Not at all. What are you talking about? That's a conspiracy that he's got Alzheimer's. You know, it's just that he forgets what he's doing here, why he's in a place in front of cameras on CNN talking to Anderson Cooper. And this is the guy who has control of the nuclear codes. Let's grab another one from Reuters. Biden backs down on corporate tax hikes, open to altering the filibuster. From Trevor Honeycutt and Nandita Bose. U.S. President Joe Biden on Thursday backed away from pledged tax increases to fund planned infrastructure and social spending, but also said he was open to reforming Senate voting rights by fundamentally altering its filibuster custom. I was not to the impression that the president had the power over Senate procedure. That's a new one. It's all in that separation of powers language, I'm sure. In a wide-ranging CNN town hall in Baltimore, Biden said he was close to striking a deal to pass major spending measures after weeks of intra-party bickering among his fellow Democrats. However, he said that raising corporate tax rates, one of his most often cited promises, was unlikely to be part of the legislation. A separate minimum corporate tax proposal could fund the social programs that are the heart of his domestic agenda, Biden said. When asked about voting rights, Biden expressed support for changing the Senate filibuster tradition, which requires 60 of 100 U.S. senators to agree on most legislation. That hurdle has left the Democratic Party powerless on key social issues, given their narrow majority. It remains to be seen whether he planned to do away with the filibuster altogether, Biden added. Taxes were the central issue on Biden's social spending plan, which is the subject of pitched debate on Capitol Hill and in the White House as negotiators look for that sweet spot between progressives wanting an array of new programs and moderates worried about the cost. Which, once again, would make me laugh if this whole thing didn't pass because progressives carpet bombed it in the fucking house because it's not enough, puppy! The tax compromise could help sell the plan to Senator Kyrsten Sinema, who has expressed concern about Biden's plan to raise corporate taxes after the Trump admin slashed them from 35% to 21% in 2017. Zero cents, not a red cent in taxes, okay? This is a person who's never owned a business in his life. Negotiations centered around 4 or 5 issues, Biden said. He said later, a clean energy performance plan has not been dropped, adding that Sinema is very supportive of his environmental agenda. Biden struck a confident note on his $1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure deal and a separate social spending plan expected to cost under $2 trillion. When asked whether Democrats were close to a deal, Biden said, I think so, man, come on. Later he added, if we can't eventually unite this country, we're in deep trouble. I do think we'll get a deal. So, yeah. That's coming. Let's grab one from the Hill. Biden's remarks on Taiwan leave the administration scrambling rather. Let's have a listen here. I gotta step away for half a second, so that'll be a good time for that. Let's listen to what the Hill has to say, and then we'll talk a bit about it.
President Biden's public remarks Thursday that the United States would come to Taiwan's defense if it were attacked by China left White House officials scrambling to explain it did not represent a shift in U.S. policy. The comments come amid historically high tensions with China over trade, human rights, technology, the coronavirus, and the island nation just 80 miles off its coast, which Beijing considers to be a part of its country. Fears that China might actually invade Taiwan have been on the rise as Beijing has been flying military aircraft into Taiwan's airspace on a near-daily basis. The heavy military presence has left China watchers recalculating over what Beijing's aims might be with Taiwan.
Business Insider has obtained emails from business contacts of Hunter Biden's revealing that while his father was vice president, Hunter offered help in
Alright, we don't need to listen about Hunter Biden. That's going to be an entirely different story here. But reading here from The Hill, President Biden's public remarks on Thursday that the U.S. would come to Taiwan's defense if it were attacked by China left the White House officials scrambling to explain it did not represent a shift in U.S. policy. See, I was the understanding we were allied with Taiwan, and that was supposed to be a thing anyway. The comments come amid historically high tensions. Let's see. Let's move down here, because this is all quoted from the video we just watched here. Moving down here, as a result, Biden's answer to a question at a CNN town hall about whether the U.S. would defend Taiwan if it were attacked by China. Yes, we have a commitment, the president said, was a major news and led to predictably tough response from China. When it comes to, that's Chinese foreign official, when it comes to issues related to China's sovereignty and territorial integrity and other core interests, there's no room for China to compromise or make concessions. And no one should underestimate the strong determination, firm will, and strong ability of the Chinese people to defend national sovereignty and territorial integrity, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Wang Wenbin told the Associated Press. The White House on Friday sought to walk back Biden's comments. He wasn't announcing a change in policy, nor have we changed our policy. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki told reporters, "We are guided by the Taiwan Relations Act." Under the Taiwan Relations Act of 1979, the U.S. is committed to providing Taiwan with arms for its defense. The law does not commit the U.S. to sending troops to Taiwan to defend it. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin on Friday dodged questions about Biden's remarks and about whether the U.S. would defend Taiwan from a military attack on China. And, I mean, there it is, too. That's what we just talked about when we saw the Cornholio thing. I am Cornholio! I am going to take over Taiwan! Oh, I'm going to defend Taiwan! Taiwan! Amazingly enough, I've only ever seen the movie Beavis and Butthead Do America. I've never really seen the show. And the movie was hilarious, by the way. And the fact that Bill Clinton was in that movie was telling as well. But as far as Taiwan goes, I mean, that's going to be a thing, because there's also the alliance with Japan, and Japan is going to be running to Taiwan's rescue. And that's a complicated story that goes far, far beyond just what's happening between Taiwan and China itself. And that actually might be... I know we always said that Persia going into Israel is going to be what causes World War III and therefore Armageddon, but don't count out China, mainland China, or West Taiwan as we like to call it, going into East Taiwan, because there are so many people that are tied up in alliances with Taiwan proper, not East or West Taiwan. There are so many major players around the world that are tied up with relations with Taiwan that's going to sour a lot of things if that's what happens here. So definitely something to watch for and something to go with. Here's one for you from Fox News. CNN's Biden Town Hall takes questions from 7 Democrats and only 2 Republicans. CNN has a long history of hosting town halls dominated by Democrats. So I get the problem with this, by the way. And we need to have more representation and more people going to and calling out and holding the Biden admin to account. I get the sentiment behind that. But it is the same thing with polling. And what I mean by that when I say it's the same thing with polling, it's the fact that, of course, they're going to oversample Democrats on a lot of polling because if you pick up the phone, and they use landlines, of course, on top of that, but if you pick up the phone and you hear on the other end, this is a national poll conducted by CNN. Would you like to participate? How many MAGA people do you think are not just going to look at the phone and slam it back onto the cradle? Because I've got a feeling it's a lot of them. And then the cell phone thing on top of that. I mean, hell, half of my generation, call screens. Their call screening is more stringent than drug screening from an Olympic swim coach. And it's probably the same thing with this. Who in MAGA country is going to look at this and say, yes, I would like to go on CNN? The attendees CNN had participated in its town hall featuring President Biden overwhelmingly skewed in favor of Democrats. Biden seemed to be in friendly territory. Of course he is. They're not going to hardball him. As the town hall took place in the heavy liberal city of Baltimore. Yeah, that's the other thing. Get some of these rural guys to go into Baltimore, of all places. CNN anchor Anderson Cooper, who has now moderated his second town hall with the 46th president, asked many of the questions throughout the 90-minute event. Of the 12 participants who were able to ask questions, 7 were identified as Democrats, 3 were identified as independents, and only 2 were identified as Republicans. The first Republican, who asked Biden why he hadn't been to the southern border, wasn't introduced by Cooper until the final 20 minutes of the event. The second Republican, who was the last participant to ask a question, asked the president how he'll keep up with Chinese military amid news of the hypersonic missile testing if he'd vow to protect Taiwan. And he probably, and this is my problem with some of these people who are coming up here with gotcha questions like this, is he probably has no idea what the U.S. relationship is with Taiwan. Somebody probably just told him Taiwan is a great ally and we need to defend them from China at all costs, and he has no idea fucking why. Because that's American discourse at this point. Two of the independent voters asked Biden how much he thinks is fair for the wealthy to pay, and when COVID vaccines for young children will be ready. The third took aim at rogue moderates and Republicans who are holding bipartisan efforts on Capitol Hill hostage, asking why he not just usher through a Democratic agenda. Okay, so it was 10 Democrats and 2 Republicans. And, I mean, this is a little bit of a side note up here, but you notice that too. When somebody identifies as an independent, they're generally ultra-Democrat, ultra-liberal, ultra-progressive. But for the most part still go on to the caucus with Democrats. And when somebody identifies as libertarian, oftentimes they're very, very conservative. Republican, they just don't like the neocon war machine. A lot of times. There are people who are out there who are true libertarian, and there are people who are party shills, of course. But for the most part, a lot of the time, it just seems to be conservatives who are displaced from the conservative party, from the neocon, war-loving fucking assholes. Perhaps the liberal slant to the town hall was by design, since CNN had previously stated it would have an invitation-only audience when it announced its town hall last week. In CNN's town hall with Don Lemon on July, 3 Republicans who got to ask Biden, outnumbered by 8 Democrats, according to the tally from Newsbusters. At Cooper's first town hall in February, none of the 12 participants were Republicans, though 2 were identified as independents who voted for President Trump. No, they didn't. 6 were Democrats, and the other 4 were also independents. So that's what we see coming off of that. From the New York Post, on top of this. Psaki refuses to say how White House picks reporters allowed into Biden events. From Stephen Nelson, this goes above and beyond the participants who get to ask the questions and looks now into, okay, how do we get the reporters in? Press Secretary Jen Psaki on Friday refused to say how White House staffers select reporters allowed into recent presidential events. The secretive practice has outraged journalists as officials given inconsistent explanations as to how they screen who is allowed within earshot of the president. In recent months, the White House press office has cherry-picked reporters allowed into Biden events in the nearly 3,000 square foot East Room and even on the lawn by citing dubious spacing constraints, despite no such constraints in the much smaller briefing room, where 49 seated reporters and many standing ones have gathered every day since the pinko-fucking-pox limits ended in June. The White House Correspondents Association opposes the practice of pre-screening for the East Room events, which under past presidents generally were open to all reporters. And nobody has gotten a firm answer from the press handlers on how selections are made. I know! Ooh, pick me! Oh wait, I'm the host. I get to pick myself. It generally comes down to the fact of, okay, I need an organized and detailed list of your questions up to the top, and if I see anything that's any sort of hardball, you're going to be out of here. And if you try to get a hardball in here, you're also going to be out of here. That's how it works. From CBS. Biden says he'd be willing to eliminate the filibuster to pass voting rights and maybe more. From Arden Farhi. President Biden ventured a step further up in favor of eliminating the filibuster in some instances after this week saw a defeat of voting rights legislation in the Senate, and the nation earlier this month teetered on the brink of default because of a Senate standoff over raising the debt limit. In a town hall-style event on Thursday with CNN's Anderson Cooper, Mr. Biden said he would be open to doing away with the filibuster in order to pass voting rights and maybe more. See, I'm not in the Senate anymore, so I don't have to use this to block those Republican agenda. Yes, I know, my nose is running. Don't pick your nose, Ed. Yes, I know. It's coming after the tail end of allergy season. You remember when it got wicked cold at the end of last week and I didn't have to worry about this? And everything was fine? Now I'm sitting here praying for the Zyrtec to kick in. He indicated the debt ceiling may be one issue worth considering for dispensing with the filibuster. Mr. Biden appears to be more open than he's been in the past to changing the filibuster. Of course! It's not a tool at his disposal anymore. This exceeds his previous position that the Senate should reinstate the talking filibuster, that is, physically standing on the floor and filibustering in person. Action on the filibuster isn't imminent, though given the tenuous political realities of the social safety net spending he's negotiating right now, Mr. Biden told Cooper, "If in fact I get myself into, at this moment, the debate on the filibuster, I lose at least 3 votes right now to get what I have to get done on the economic side of the equation." He said focusing on the American Rescue Plan, infrastructure, and social spending bill had come at the expense of passing police reform and a voting rights law, and it was the greatest regret of his presidency so far. Yeah, no. And like Ron said earlier on in the chat, I do think that this guy does still think he's in the Senate and he has a say in all this. But the executive branch does have no say in parliamentary Senate procedures. There is separation of powers. It's a real thing. All right. Let's go back to Fox News. Biden border absence defended by Psaki, who says he made a drive-through in 2008. From Kyle Morris. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki attempted to defend President Biden on Friday for his unwillingness to travel to the southern border using a trip he made more than a decade ago to the region as evidence for his familiarity with the issues there. Oh good, we get to listen to this. Why did President Biden say he's been to the border? Fox News White House correspondent Peter Doocy asked Psaki, referencing remarks he made by the president during Thursday night's town hall with CNN. Let's listen. But first, let's get rid of the music.
Following up on something else the president said last night, why did President Biden say he has been to the border?
Well, Peter, as you may have seen, there's been reporting that he did drive through the border when he was on the campaign trail in 2008, and he is certainly familiar with the fact, and it stuck with him, with the fact that in El Paso, the border goes right through the center of town. But what the most important thing everyone should know and understand is that the president has worked on these issues throughout his entire career and is well-versed in every aspect of our immigration system, including the border. That includes when he was vice president, and he went to Mexico and Central America 10 times to address border issues and talk about what we can do to reduce the number of migrants who are coming to the border. He worked in a bipartisan manner with senators like Ted Kennedy, Harry Reid, John McCain, and others to push for comprehensive immigration reform. He does not need a visit to the border to know what a mess was left by the last administration. That's his view.
Does that count as a visit? He said, I've been there before. You're saying he drove by for a few minutes. Does that count?
What is the root cause? Where are people coming from who are coming to the border, Peter?
The president said that
I'm asking you a question because I think people should understand the context.
No, you're
where do people
I'm asking you if that
Okay, I'll answer it for you. People.
What? No, that's not the direction the questions go, red-haired bobblehead. That's not the direction those questions go. They ask the questions of you. You answer them. And yes, you're going to come back. I mean, this combative, disingenuous cunt. I swear. What? And this is the thing, too. And we'll finish listening to this because it bears being on the record here. But, I mean, you listen to this and, yeah, okay, she's coming on. Oh, well, he was on the border in 2008. Dude, the entire situation at the border has changed immensely from December till now. Hell, it changed immensely between December and fucking March. And he went by in 2008. That's over a decade ago. That's 13 fucking years ago. On the campaign trail, he went down there. On a drive-by for... No, he has not been to the border. Not in its current form, its current iteration. And of course, well, we went to El Paso and that goes through... The border goes through the center of town. Yeah, go to Donna, where the crisis actually is. Let's finish listening to this cunt.
Come from Central America and Mexico to go to the border. The president has been to those countries 10 times to talk about border issues. There is a focus right now on a photo op. The president does not believe a photo op is the same as solutions.
But he said,
that may be a difference he has with Republicans.
But that's not what he said either. He said, I guess I should go down. So does he think that he needs a photo op? Is that what he's saying?
He doesn't. And that's a fundamental disagreement he has. I would say the former president went to the border at least once, maybe more. You may know the numbers. How did that immigration policy result, Peter? That immigration policy resulted in separating kids from their parents, building a border wall that's feckless and that costs billions of dollars for taxpayers. The president fundamentally disagrees on how we need to approach the immigration.
You'll notice also that border crossings, attempted crossing, and border facilities are up 1,400%. And there's another caravan coming. We'll be talking about in just a second here. Oh, no. All those policies didn't work. It's those policies over there. No, fuck you. Okay, fuck you. You know why? Because you know full fucking well that this didn't work. You know full on well that this is a disaster. And all you're trying to do is reach out to push back and go talk about the other guy. No other reporters ever pushed back on this. Oh, I looked over at the wrong time. Oh. Oh, Quest. All right, let's keep going. Speaking of the border, here from Como News out of Texas, 2,000 migrants continue to walk through southern Mexico. From Marco Ugarte via the Associated Press. Out of Huehuetan, Mexico, A group of about 2,000 mainly Central American migrants continued their mass trek from the southern Mexico city of Tapachula on Sunday, reaching a town about 16 miles away, or 26 kilometers if you decide to use communist numbers. Migrants started out before the dawn to avoid the burning heat. Mostly from Honduras and El Salvador, many were accompanied by small children. By midday in the second day of their march, they reached the town of Huehuetan in southern Chiapas state. Unlike previous marches, the one that started on Saturday from Tapachula did not include as many Haitian migrants, as thousands of whom reached the U.S. border around Del Rio, Texas in September. Tens of thousands of migrants from Honduras, El Salvador, and Haiti have been waiting in Tapachula near the Guatemalan border for refugee or asylum papers that might allow them to travel, but have grown tired of the delays in the process. Mexico requires migrants applying for humanitarian visas or asylum to remain in the border state of Chiapas next to Guatemala for their cases to be processed. So, Mexico has a border policy, but it's horribly racist if we have a border policy. Anthony Beltrandes, a Cuban who left his country in 2018 to go to Uruguay, had been waiting for 1.5 months in Tapachula for papers that would allow him to reach the U.S. border. But they took a long time, said Beltrandes, a furniture restorer, so he decided to join the group of migrants who left Tapachula on Saturday. There's been a lot of heat, a lot of sun, Beltrandes said of the walk. On the first day of the march, the migrants pushed past the line of state police who were trying to stop them. There were minor scuffles, and a small child suffered a slight head wound, but the migrants continued on their way. They only made it a few kilometers to the nearby village of Alvaro Obregón on Saturday before stopping to rest for the night at a baseball field. Police, immigration agents, and National Guard have broken up smaller attempts at similar breakouts earlier this year. In August, National Guard troops in riot gear blocked several hundred Haitians, Cubans, and Central Americans who were set out walking on a highway from Tapachula. In January, a larger caravan of migrants tried to leave Honduras, but was blocked from crossing Guatemala. Jose Antonio, a Honduran, in the latest group, who did not want to give his last name because he feared it could affect his case, said he'd been waiting in Tapachula for 2 months for an answer to his request on some sort of visa. So, well, we'll be watching this in a few more weeks when they show up here, and now they're at the border and stuck under an underpass and somewhere in Texas. Maybe they'll go to New Mexico this time. Maybe they'll go to Arizona. Maybe they'll go there and that fucking hippie will be out there saying, See, man, it's peaceful. All that we see out there in the distance, man, it's just all these people marching up for this open area in the border. But it's all peaceful out here, man. Come on, there's nothing bad happening here, man. Let's talk about Kamala. Sgt. Pepper, 1964. Kamala gets heckled, promoting Build Back Better.
It's about better health. It's about better jobs. And intentionally, it is about our families. This is our agenda. You are right, brother. I know you are. And how about if you and I talk about that? So let me finish.
Why are we working with the Chinese on their Belt and Road Initiative?
Okay, you know what? You and I will talk after I give my comments, and I'm happy to talk with you.
Yeah, with the large man who's walking up to this guy, he and her are not going to talk. He's about to go and get roughed up somewhere outside and probably going to be found in a trash can later.
But right now, let's talk about the agenda that will include speaking to all people and allowing everybody to be heard.
Excuse me, sir. I'm speaking now.
That's part of what we want in our democracy. Everybody gets their chance to talk, and everybody gets a chance to be heard. So this is our agenda. This is our agenda to cut taxes. The Build Back Better agenda includes our agenda to cut taxes.
Yeah, that guy's going to be found with 2 broken legs in a trash can somewhere. Most popular administration in history, 80 million votes. Honk honk. Most popular president ever, even more votes than Barack Obama. Let's see, what else can we dig up here? From Fox News' Sam Dorman, Kamala Harris's AG office allegedly illegally colluded with abortion providers during investigation, attorneys allege. So, is this an old story? No, this is from 5 days ago. Recent statements and court documents indicate that when Vice President Kamala Harris was AG of California, her office colluded with prominent abortion providers as she pursued a criminal case against pro-life journalist David Daleiden, his attorneys argue. As Attorney General, Harris took the unprecedented step of charging Daleiden with violating a state eavesdropping law. Part of the investigation entailed seizing a variety of materials from Daleiden's apartment, including then unreleased undercover video footage of Planned Parenthood. Daleiden's attorneys argued that one of Harris's appointees, Deputy AG Joan, effectively admitted in May 2021 that she abused the powers of her office by giving the National Abortion Federation that footage and other materials seized during the raid of 2016 from Daleiden's apartment as part of Harris's criminal investigation. By that time, NAF was embroiled in a civil suit against Daleiden. But do you know what? Nothing's going to come out of this. And yeah, I mean, we knew about the allegation of this. We knew that this was a suspected thing, that this organization got these documents. And we don't know why or how, but I mean, it does look like Kamala Harris was involved in this, and nothing's going to happen to it because executive privilege. I half expect the fact we'll find out the fact there's a bunch of stuff in her past, a bunch of skeletons in her closet, that we're also never going to know about because she got honked into that position, so she would never have to answer to them either. Because after the Kavanaugh hearing, she got onto a lot of people's radar and they started looking into what she was and what she did. Which is good. You should always be doing that. Let's keep going. Let's grab one from the Daily Wire. Obama to Virginia voters. Don't pay attention to trumped up culture wars. It's all fake outrage. Okay, and I know about fake outrage. I fomented a lot of it in my time as president. I did everything I could to make sure that there was fake outrage everywhere. There didn't need to be real outrage, but I made sure there was fake outrage. Because I got people out at the polls, and that got them to vote. And see, I got them out to the vote. That was me. I got them active. I got them there. I told them I was going to give them free stuff, and I only got up and bombed brown kids. I did the same thing as my predecessor. It was all his fault, though. That was just me. All right, let's see what he had to say. From Daily Wire News, former President Barack Obama pleaded with Virginian voters to not pay attention to culture wars as Election Day nears between Democratic gubernatorial candidate Terry McAuliffe and Republican candidate Glenn Youngkin. Let's listen.
We don't have time to be wasting on these phony, trumped-up culture wars, this fake outrage that right-wing media peddles to juice their ratings, and the fact that he's willing to go along with it instead of talking about serious problems that actually affect serious people, that's a shame. That's not what this election's about. That's not what you need, Virginia. Instead of forcing our communities to cut back at a time when we're just starting to recover, we should be doing more to support people who are educating our kids and keeping our neighborhoods safe.
Keeping our neighborhoods safe, like when kids can go to or girls can go to the bathroom in a high school and not have to worry about getting raped by a boy in a skirt. Oh, I'm sorry, we're not supposed to talk about that because that girl's father is just a crazy MAGA person. We're not supposed to talk about that. They're scared, dude. Unknowable reactions to Obama's remarks include Ben Shapiro. Sorry, but McAuliffe's saying that parents should be in charge of their children's education. And, and we're parents right now, too. And my wife, she's the doctor. She's smoking hot. But we're still there and involved in our children's education, okay? And the Loudoun County School Board lying to parents about sexual assaults in bathrooms isn't trumped up cultural wars. Joe Gabriel Simonson, reporter, Netflix executive, say stop paying attention to popular culture. Ian Miles Chong, people losing their jobs and being called terrorists for not wanting their kids abused or indoctrinated at schools is now fake outrage in the phony trumped-up culture wars. Yeah, and that's one of the things. And I mean, we haven't really paid a lot of attention to this Virginia race on this program. That's my fault. I apologize for that. But realistically, it does sound like the left is scared here. Because this is deep blue Virginia, partially with the Beltway, partially full of Beltway people. I mean, the only thing that Democrats care about in Virginia is probably about 10 miles out from the diamond part of D.C. Let's be realistic about that entirely. Part of it, that's still the D.C. Metro, but not technically in Washington, the District of Columbia itself. That's all they really care about in all of this, but with what they're telling us that Virginia is and what they're telling us that the U.S. is, anything but a blowout Democrat victory is going to tell them that their policies aren't working, that their policies are full of shit, which they are. Anything other than Terry McAuliffe with a double-digit lead, 65 to 70% or more, is going to show that there is a culture war. And I gotta mince around and walk around my words carefully here because Susan is watching. But I've got all kinds of... I believe fully that they're going to honk this election, that there's going to be some honk involved with this one. But I think the margins are going to be a lot closer. Even if they honk it, the margins are going to be a lot closer than they're going to be comfortable with. Because McAuliffe shot himself in the ass by telling us that parents have no place in their children's education. McAuliffe shot himself right in the fucking ass with that. And the parents have stood up and no. And now we're also starting to get national attention on Loudoun County. The fact that the AG wants to send the FBI in to arrest parents who are concerned about what their kids are being taught. Democrats in Virginia might be L-fucked. With a capital E. And a capital F on top of it. And the fact they have to go back and drag Obama out for this. And he has to put his angry potato eyes on. And I'm telling you, this is all trumped up culture wars. It's all fake outrage. All right, let's talk about Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz' Florida law license suspended for not paying bar fees. This is already a non-story because he's already paid them and he's already been reinstated. But this was, Occupy Democrats got all over this for the hour that this was relevant on Friday. From 7 News, WSVN. A Florida congressman's law license has been suspended. U.S. Rep. Matt Gaetz has been blocked from practicing law in the state. Gaetz did not pay the fees owed to the Florida bar, making him ineligible. The congressman currently faces an investigation for alleged underage sex trafficking. That's all that's on here, then there's a correction. He has since paid his late fees and filed a petition to get reinstated. This is a gigantic nothing story, but because he's MAGA, he's the most MAGA congressman that there is next to Marjorie Taylor Greene. This is what Occupy Democrats decided that they need to go blow up and force outrage onto all their little fucking simp followers for. Matt Gaetz lost his law license. Yeah, it was a clerical error. Now, I wouldn't want him practicing law with me if he can't remember to go pay his fees, because usually you have people to do that for you. So I would either be firing people or, doing more organization to go get it done myself. But I mean, this is not some scandal where they think, oh, well, they think that he actually diddled the kids, so he's going to lose his law license or anything like that. No, he just forgot to pay his fucking dues. It's a financial issue. Fuck all the way off. Let's grab one from Reuters. U.S. Supreme Court takes up Texas abortion case. Let's ban Remain. From Andrew Chung. The U.S. Supreme Court on Friday agreed to hear a November 1st a challenge to a Texas law that imposes a near total ban on the procedure and lets private citizens enforce it. A case that could dramatically curtail abortion access in the U.S. if the justices endorse the measure's unique design. The justices took up requests by President Biden's admin and abortion providers to immediately review the challenges to the law. The court, which on September 1st allowed the law to go into effect, declined to act on the Justice Department's request to immediately block enforcement of the measure. The court will consider whether the law's unusual private enforcement structure prevents federal courts from intervening to strike it down, and whether the federal government is even allowed to sue the state to try to protect it. That'll be interesting to see, and that's going to be an interesting 10th Amendment case, that's going to be an interesting Roe case, and that's going to be an interesting private citizens case. Now, I don't agree with the way that the law is structured, where anybody can come in and seek these bounties over and over again and continue to sue. And it's not even a bounty, but that's what the left is going to try to call it. But anybody can seek these lawsuits here. Now, once again, going in with some of my own experience off of this, because I dated a girl, there was an accident, I'm not going to go into the details of it, but there was an accident, and she chose, without my consent or knowledge, to go and have the abortion, after telling me that she hated me for the fact that I wasn't sure what to do at that point, because I was 23 fucking years old and already in financial dire straits at the time. I'm so glad I got out of that position, but I didn't know, because she had the better job out of the two of us. I was still in school. I didn't know what to do, and she just went behind my back and going on Facebook and bragging that she's about to be a mom on top of it, but she went behind my back and did it. Now, I wouldn't be so vindictive as to go back and file a lawsuit against her, because that is petty and bullshit to do. But as the aggrieved party, under the Texas law, I could say, yes, I would be the one to go off and do this and seek the damages for that, as myself, as the aggrieved party, as the person who had lost his child. We didn't even know it was mine, but she assured me that she knew that it was mine. She said at first there was a 50-50 shot, and then she all of a sudden knew full well that it was mine. That's another story for another time. And I'm actually probably not going to tell, just because it is private and personal. But as the aggrieved party in that situation, I could see myself, being affected in this law. Oh, hey, you killed my kid. And now I'm the aggrieved party off of this. Let's take this out to court. But, just... let's use an example of somebody from the chat, and who am I going to pick on today? Let's talk Arvold. For Arvold, say Arvold's got a daughter here, and she goes out and an accident happens, an honest accident happens, and she decides to go through the extreme measure off of this. Now, in the same situation that I said, if the boyfriend did decide this was a good idea, he would be the aggrieved party in this, and would be able to come out and say, okay, I'm going to sue you for $10,000 because you killed my kid. But the way the Texas law is structured, and I don't agree with this, is that I could also come back if I found out about this and say, okay, Arvold, I'm going to take care of this, and I could go back and sue Arvold's daughter for $10,000 for the same thing. Being nowhere near an aggrieved party off of this, being nowhere near anything off of this. And I don't think that particular instance is right. I don't care for that. But that's what we see. Alright, let's keep going. Anyway, yeah, going back to this for just a second. The court will consider whether the law's unusual private enforcement structure prevents federal courts from intervening to strike it down, and whether the federal government is even allowed to sue the state to try to block it. The measure bans abortions after about 6 weeks, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we know what's going on for this. I don't know where the Supreme Court is going to go off of this. It's going to be a landmark as to who has the jurisdiction and who has the kind of law, which that actually worries me a little bit. Because if we put more power into the federal government, they're never going to get the fuck out of our lives. So I don't know where I fall on this. I'm going to be completely honest. I don't know where I fall on this. I know I don't like the private enforcement measure for a non-aggrieved party. I like the private enforcement measure for an aggrieved party, somebody who's actually involved with the situation. That is a private enforcement mechanism I could accept. But for a non-aggrieved party to be able to come in and do this, I don't know. And then have the federal government get involved in it as well. I don't like where any of this is going, yo. I really don't. All right. Let's talk. What are we talking about here? Let's talk about Alec Baldwin. Already to 9 o'clock, which means now I'm cutting in against one of my best friends. Close the private message chat. Coming in, talking about Alec Baldwin. Starting here with a tweet from notorious Italian air coin respecter. Oh, no, 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 no. An accident on the set of Alec Baldwin's movie Rust at the Bonanza Creek Ranch on the outskirts of Santa Fe, New Mexico sent 2 members of the film crew to the hospital. One of them, a woman, has died, Fox News confirmed. Yeah, we know about this. Investigators said the prop firearm was being waved around by Baldwin during a rant about Trump. When he discharged it at the crew, detectives are investigating how and what type of projectile was discharged, the sheriff said. This entire story, this entire thing has become completely insane. This is one of the most insane stories I've seen in a long, long time because I don't know who's going to wind up being at fault. And there's some other unverified reports here, so there's some other memes going around. I put the meme somewhere, and I can't fucking find it now. But there's the other situation here where allegedly the woman that died was the wife of a lawyer at one of the firms that was representing Hillary Clinton. I don't know if that's true or not. I can't independently verify that. I can't independently verify whether or not any of that actually happened. But yeah, that's one of the rumors going around is that she was this. And now, like, she wasn't the wife of the lawyer who's directly representing Clinton, but somebody else in the firm, another lawyer in the firm, which, I mean, if that's true, and that's a big if, I would need to independently verify that. That is definitely sending a message. Like, do what we want, or else something bad might happen. You wouldn't want something bad to happen, like what happened to Alec Baldwin. And the rumor is that, okay, maybe somebody slipped the gun in place where it wasn't supposed to be because they wanted him to go on this rant, and then they tried to push him off onto the rant, and he started waving around, and bang, bang. Now they want something to happen, which that is a little bit of a stretch to me, because if you're going on the rant thinking that the gun is loaded, or I'm sorry, isn't real and can't hurt anybody, how are you going to know where it gets pointed? So that in and of itself, that's a little bit of a stretch to me, but there's so many questions for this that don't have answers, and I don't think are going to have answers. All I know is Baldwin's probably not going to see the inside of a cell. But now they're trying to throw the prop director under a bus. Assistant director on Rust was subject of complaints dating back to 2019 from Julia Jones. An assistant director on the film set of Rust was the subject of complaints over safety and his behavior on set during 2 productions in 2019. 2 people who worked closely with him tell CNN. The complaints against Assistant Director Dave Halls include a disregard for safety protocols for weapons and pyrotechnics use, blocked fire lanes and exits, and instances of inappropriately sexual behavior in the workplace. Oh, so they're going to try and Me Too him. That's the thing. They're going to try and Me Too him so they can come out and say, oh, see, it was all this guy. Just throw him under the bus and don't pay attention to anything else that happened with this. Halls was identified in court documents as the assistant director who handed actor Alec Baldwin a prop firearm, which, when fired, struck cinematographer Helena Hutchins with a live round. Hutchins was later pronounced dead at the New Mexico hospital. Completely the other side of the country. Maggie Gold, an IATSE Local 44 prop maker and licensed pyrotechnician, said in a statement to CNN that while working on Hulu's Into the Dark anthology series in February and May of 2019, Halls neglected to hold safety meetings and consistently failed to announce the presence of firearm on set to the crew as is protocol. The only reason the crew was made aware of the weapons present was because the assistant's prop master demanded Dave acknowledge and announce the situation each day. Goal's statement reads. She adds that the prop master would announce each day when a gun would be required on camera, the disposition of that weapon, whether it was a rubber plastic replica, a non-firing option, or a cold functional but unloaded weapon, allowing anyone to inspect said weapon prior to bringing it to the set and presenting it to the talent. The prop master frequently admonished Dave for dismissing the talent without returning the props, weapon included, or failing to make safety announcements. Dude. And this could all be true. This could be just a gigantic nothing, but man, oh man, this leaves a lot of questions in my mind. But what we can say, fully well, is the memes. The memes! The memes. There have been some great memes coming out of this. Let me see if I can find one quick. I know I put one into the Discord. Oof. That's a spicy meme right there too. That's not the one I was looking for. I know it's in here. Yes. This is my favorite one. Video. The radio star. Alright, that's enough memes. Let's keep going. The New York Post reporting the same thing that I reported on Friday when we first found out about this. Alec Baldwin ignored the #1 rule of gun safety, Hollywood weapons expert. From Carrie J. Byrne, Connor Skelding, Dean Balsamini, and Dana Kennedy. Alec Baldwin, who accidentally killed his cinematographer on the set of the film Rust, should have never pointed the gun at another human even if he believed it was safe, Hollywood safety experts told the Post. Yeah, that's also the first thing you hear in any hunter safety class. It's been 24 years, a quarter of a century since I've been in a hunter safety class, and even I remember that. From the beginning of my first hunter safety class in redacted Wisconsin. 23 years ago, I was 13. 1997. 24 years ago. 1997. Treat every firearm as if it's loaded. Never point a firearm at something you do not intend to destroy. And the actor is now likely to face a gauntlet of legal challenges, including possible criminal charges. Okay. As both the man who pulled the trigger and as the executive producer responsible for set safety, legal experts said. Loaded or unloaded, a weapon never gets pointed at another human being, Hollywood firearms consultant Brian Carpenter of Dark 30 Film Services has told the Post. Yeah, I don't know. I really don't on this one. I can't tell you if this was intentional, if this was something that was organized off the background, if this was the spooky woo kind of stuff, or if this was truly an accident. I can tell you this could have been avoided. That I can tell you. By like what the New York Post said. Never point a firearm at something you don't intend to destroy. Ever. Alright. Let's move on. Let's talk about January 6th stuff. Starting with this tweet from Aaron Rupar. Quoting Andrea Mitchell. Do you agree with Trump that Election Day was an insurrection? Senator Roy Blunt. I think the election was what it was.
I wanted to ask you about some statements that the former President Donald Trump made just this week. On Thursday, he said the insurrection took place on November 3rd, Election Day. January 6th was the protest. Was Election Day an insurrection?
You know, I think the election was what it was. There's a process you go through that determines whether or not the early reports were the right reports, and we went through that process. And I'm of the view that the best thing that President Trump could do to help us win majorities in 2022 is talk about the future, and he can be an important part of this 22 effort. But I think better off to talk about the future than to focus on the past in every election.
I wanted to ask you about some statements that the former...
Yeah, and see, that's part of the problem that I have with this, is that word insurrection is going to be overused until it's fucking meaningless, just like racism and sexism, misogyny, all these other accusations that get thrown around here willy-nilly. Commie, that's another one that's going away because it's meaningless at this point. It bears no meaning anymore at this point. Not especially not to the point that it was meant to be. Pinko still has a little bit off of it, but I mean, all these other terms, they just get memed and used into oblivion to the point where people just use them as an insult. It's like the R word that we're supposedly not allowed to say on YouTube anymore. It doesn't mean what it's supposed to. It actually was a medical diagnosis at one point, and now it got used by every 4th grader on up to insult somebody who had wronged him somewhere on the playground. So, there's that. Let's talk about this one here from CNN. We're getting all kinds of threats, judge says. Defiant U.S. Capitol rioters are fueling threats from Trump supporters. A federal judge said Friday that defiant U.S. Capitol rioters who are still defending their role in the January 6th selfie fest are fueling threats against judges from people who falsely believe the 2020 election was stolen from former President Trump. It bothers me that she would try to associate herself with that kind of violence, and then she goes on television on 2 occasions and proud of what she did. She said she would do it again, District Judge Reggie Walton said at a hearing for Capitol riot defendant Lori Vinson. I know these types of comments have an impact, Walton said, as judges we're getting all kinds of threats and hostile phone calls when we have these January 6 cases before us because there are unfortunately other people who buy this proposition. Just out of curiosity, did the people on the other end of the phones happen to look like this? Because I'm pretty sure that's who's on the other end of the phones. This is a fucking bullshit story. Yeah, those are the people who are making the calls. Hello, fellow extremists. Do you want to go homesteading after we do an insurrection? Let's keep going. From Newsweek, Liz Cheney calls out Jim Banks for falsely signing letters as member of January 6th Commission. From Catherine Fung, Representative Liz Cheney called out fellow Republican Jim Banks during a Thursday committee hearing, entering into the record a letter he sent to the government agencies falsely claiming that he is the ranking member of the January 6th committee. Banks is not a member of the Select Committee. The gentleman also said he's not on the committee. He noted that the Speaker had determined that he wouldn't be on the committee, Cheney said from the House floor. She continued, I would like to introduce for the record a number of letters the gentleman from Indiana has been sending to federal agencies dated September 16, 2021. For example, signing his name as the ranking member of the committee that he's just informed the House that he's not on. Cheney is the committee's vice chair, and a neocon, warhawk, fucking cuck that needs to be removed from her seat immediately before we go to another war because she needs to go get her Halliburton money from bombing fucking brown kids. Liz Cheney isn't the ranking member, Banks' office wrote to Newsweek. She's the vice chair because she was appointed by Democrats. This is the first select committee in American history that doesn't have a ranking member and is entirely partisan. Representative Banks chose to highlight the unprecedented exclusion of the minority party in his letter. Yeah, but if he signed his name to it and he isn't on the committee, that's also pretty fucked up. And it's pretty fucked up what that was to begin with. What that entire thing was, and the fact that it is a fully partisan committee, and the only Republicans that are on there are the fucking minstrel show Warhawk Republicans of, oh, I'm going to dance around and do what Democrats tell me to do because then maybe they won't call me a fucking racist. Fuck this committee. It's stalling out anyway. They're just looking for ways that they can go dig into the National Archive and go find other stuff that they can go and see, look at the scandal from the Orange Man! While our dementia-addled fucking president stands there looking like Cornholio. Let's keep going. National School Boards Association disavows letter that led to FBI parent crackdown. From Sam Chamberlain. The National School Boards Association Board of Directors Friday repudiated a letter its two top officials sent to President Biden, which precipitated AG Merrick Garland's order that the FBI investigate complaints of threats to school officials from parents. In a message to NSBA members, the board said that we regret and apologize for the letter, which was sent September 29th and co-signed by Association CEO Chip Slavin and President Viola Garcia. To be clear, the safety of school board members, other public officials, and students is our top priority, and there remains important work to be done here on the issue, the board wrote. However, there was no justification for some of the language included in the letter. The message added that we deeply value not only the work of local boards to make important contributions within our communities, but also the voices of the parents who should and must continue to be heard when it comes to decisions about the children's education, health, and safety. The letter was tweeted out by the Oregon State Boards Association, whose director, Jim Green, said in a statement, "We appreciate NSBA's apology over some of the language in the organization's appeal for protecting the safety of school board members. That doesn't mean the underlying issue, keeping volunteer school board members safe from the threats of violence, isn't important. It is," Green added, but NSBA recognized that the wording it used, alienating many parents, are vital partners in public schools. It's my hope with this apology that the national organization can learn from this experience and move on. Yeah, even the NSBA is walking this back now because they know they done fucked up. When you come out and say that the parents who want the best for their children don't have a say in what their children learn in school, and then label them as domestic terrorists and get the FBI involved on something that should have been a local issue to begin with, and yes, if there's a threat of violence, get the fucking sheriff in there. If there is violence in there, get the fucking sheriff in there. Or the Metro Police Department if you're in that jurisdiction. But get somebody local in there and get those people who are causing violence the fuck out of there. Because in our political discourse, there shouldn't be violence. But this is not a federal issue. And then, of course, what we saw on Friday with Merrick Garland in his hearing, talking about the fact that, this is about the violence, and this is not about the fact that my son-in-law is distributing materials for CRT. On something that should have never been a federal issue to begin with. Let's talk about some commie coof stuff. CDC Director Walensky. There's a plan to get unvaccinated workers education and counseling. Is that re-education? And is the counseling coming in a camp? From Daily Wire News. CDC Director Rochelle Walensky said during an interview on Sunday that there is a plan to get unvaccinated essential workers education and counseling so they will feel comfortable getting vaccinated. Dude, this is getting even more dystopian as it goes. Holy shit. As you know, there are cases where police officers and health workers or pilots are walking off the job rather than getting the vaccine. Fox News host Chris Wallace said, "Are you still full speed ahead with mandates for essential workers to get vaccinated?" We've seen these mandates, and they're getting more and more people vaccinated, she said. Here's what we know. The most disruptive thing that you can do to the workforce is to have a COVID outbreak in that workforce. That will most definitely not only send people home. Wait, I see that magical word on the bottom. We don't have to listen to me do an impression of this. You know what we're going to do. We're going to watch this.
There.
No, we're not.
Let's talk about mandates for adults.
Oh, yeah, we will.
President Biden was asked about the quite controversial mandates for essential workers at his town hall this week. Take a look at his answer.
Should police officers, emergency responders, be mandated to get vaccines? And if not, should they be stay at home or let go?
Yes and yes.
Now, mandates by government, by private companies of essential workers have generally worked. You see a big boost in vaccinations, even though there may be some grousing. But as you know, there are cases where police officers or health workers or pilots are walking off the job rather than get the vaccine. Are you still full speed ahead on mandates for essential workers to get vaccinated?
We have seen that these mandates are getting more and more people vaccinated. Here's what we know. The most disruptive thing that you can do to a workforce is to have a COVID outbreak in that workforce. That will most definitely not only send people home, but it will send people to the hospital, and some may pass. What we know from the police workforce is that there have been more deaths from the coronavirus over the last year and a half than all other causes of death for that workforce combined. So we believe it is very important to get these people vaccinated. There is a plan, should these people not want to be vaccinated, towards education and counseling to get people the information they need so that they are feeling comfortable in getting vaccinated.
Okay, boy, does that ever sound like a fucking re-education camp? This is some scary shit, dude. This is some scary, scary fucking shit, yo. But it. Okay. From the New York Post. CDC very carefully monitoring Delta Plus COVID variant, Walensky says. The next one is coming! The next one is coming. People are starting to question the government again. Let's throw another mandate on here from Jackie Sello. CDC Director Rochelle Walensky said Sunday that the agency is very carefully monitoring a new COVID-19 subvariant known as Delta Plus. I thought that was an on-demand service for the airline. Walensky said the sublineage of the highly contagious Delta variant known as AY42 has been on their radar as it spreads through the UK. Yeah, I know, this is like a year old at this point. We're watching it very carefully. We have had a handful of cases here in the US, but it's not taken off as it has in the UK, Walensky said on NBC's Meet the Depressed. But Walensky stressed that it has yet to still be determined whether the new subvariant is more contagious or is resistant to vaccines, despite being linked to a growing number of cases in the UK. I'm not going to go too far into this, just to let you know that they're already setting up for the next big shutdown. Let's keep going. Yeah, we're almost there. We're probably going to get till 10. Sorry, Steven. We're probably going to get till 10 because they crammed so much shit in over this weekend. And I don't think I've even touched on one that was left over yet. I know we're getting there here towards the end here. From the LA Times, man is arrested after driving into vaccine mandate protesters in Palmdale, authorities said. From Kim Christensen, this is from the LA Times, a 64-year-old man was arrested Saturday after he drove his Jeep Wrangler into a crowd of people protesting the vaccine mandates in Palmdale, injuring one woman, LA County Sheriff's Department officials said. A witness stated a man disagreed with the protest, entered his vehicle, and intentionally drove towards the protesters, Deputy Trina Schrader said in a statement on Sunday. The suspect then drove away westbound and out of view. William Asliskin was arrested about 90 minutes after the incident, which occurred at about 3:25 p.m. at the intersection of 10th Street West and Rancho Vista Boulevard, officials said. He was booked into the sheriff's department's Palmdale station on suspicion of felony assault and was being held there on Sunday in lieu of a $50,000 bail. Inmate records show he is scheduled to appear Tuesday in the Antelope Valley Municipal Court in Lancaster. This story, I was able to, when I did the Google search, find the LA Times version of the story. But I came to this. This story is, I'm willing to bet, is being very, very highly suppressed at this point, because when I first ran across the story, it was a screenshot of the NBC News article, and the NBC News, when I went to look for this morning when I got up, was nowhere to be fucking found. But luckily the LA Times was there, and just quick run through the archive and we can see it there. But yeah, they didn't want to talk about leftist violence or leftist counter-protest or anything else like that. They don't want you to talk about this here. It's only when Heather Heyer is killed because the guy in the Dodge Charger ran out and hit her while he was running away from a bike lock fucking professor. Yeah, they don't like their worldview being challenged, do they? They really don't. And they're willing to get in a car and kill people over it. This one here is from our friends over at NPR. Thousands of workers are opting to get fired rather than take the vaccine. But if they get fired, then they can't give us their money. I mean, our money, comrade. Because that's the most important part. The donate button is there, and they will tell you at the end of the article also to donate to NPR. Because it's not your money, comrade, it's our money. This article is from Andrea Shue, and we need to make sure that Andrea is also paid. Your taxpayer money isn't enough, and we need more. Give us more. NPR, National Progressive Radio. Let's see what they have to say. For 33 years, Carl Bonack worked his dream job delivering weather forecasts on TV for what he considers one of the most challenging but beautiful spots in the U.S., the UP. We're the Yoopers up here. This is what your weather is going to be like today, eh? It became so popular that "That's What Carl Says" became a slogan at his station in the 90s and even inspired a song. But Bonack's time as chief meteorologist for news station TV6 came to an abrupt end last month. He was fired after refusing to comply with the vaccine mandate imposed by his station's owner, Gray Television. I actually want to put this one up here for this. I just didn't want to take the shot, says Bonack, who is 68. I felt it was my right as a human being and a citizen of these United States to decide what I put into my body. Across the country, employers are firing workers for refusing to comply with vaccine mandates. Some people are opting to quit their jobs rather than take the shot. These workers represent only a tiny fraction of overall employees, but not even 1% in some workplaces. But it can add up to thousands of people in many states. You can get that at a number of different places. Washington State reports so far that nearly 1,900 state workers, including the head football coach at Washington State, have quit or been fired for refusing the vaccine. In Michigan, 400 workers at the Henry Ford Health Systems in Detroit walked away from their jobs. North Carolina-based Novant Health fired about 175 employees, and the list goes on. The resistance has stirred great condemnation and controversy. Many view unvaccinated workers as a potential risk to the workplace. Yes, continue to make them into second-class citizens. And overwhelmingly, workers have accepted and even embraced the science showing vaccines protect not only you, but those around you. And that's the bullshit story that they're going, you're not getting the vaccine because of you, you're getting it because of the people around you, because you might not spread it at this point, in spite of the fact that statistics, every time we see an outbreak like this, show that statistically you're more likely to get it from a vaccinated person than an unvaccinated person. You know why? Because there's more of them. They are the majority. So every time you hear about an outbreak, it's the unvaccinated that are spreading it. Well, check your statistics once again. Alright, and with that, my dreams of starting a media company with Allison Williams has been dashed to bits, but I will still like to get her on the Red Net Show. So everybody tweet at Allison Williams, because if she is if she's not gatekept by Shapiro, which I believe that she's going to be, tweet at Allison Williams, let her know. We want to get her on the RedNet show because I want to talk to her about this and all the rest of the news as well. But my dreams of having her as a partner or another show on the Turns of Pages Productions Network have been dashed. Daily Wire signs Allison Williams ousted ESPN sportscaster who resisted the vaccine mandate. Arvolt called it in the air. It was going to be Daily Wire that picked her up. That's going to be after Thanksgiving. She told me to reach out to her after Thanksgiving for that because she is overbooked until Thanksgiving. So that will be probably early December. This is from the Daily Wire. Daily Wire editor emeritus Ben Shapiro. How much of a fucking pretentious title is that, by the way? Announced on his show Friday that the company has signed former ESPN sports reporter Allison Williams to lead the special sports series that will be available exclusively for Daily Wire members. As the Daily Wire previously reported, Williams left her post as college basketball and football reporter for ESPN on Friday after being sidelined in September for refusing to abide by the network's COVID-19 vaccination mandate. Well, this was the responsibility for the first time I've ever deleted a tweet for something that wasn't a grammatical or spelling error, or that I forgot to post a link or tag somebody in the tweet that I intended to post or tag. Because I have deleted those tweets before, but this is the first time I've actually deleted a tweet. Because, congratulations to Allison Williams, rather. I want her on my show, I can't even get her fucking name right. Congratulations to Allison Williams, this is going to be a great opportunity for you. The Daily Wire's made a new coupon code. But this is still a great thing for you, that you can still get your job, stay in the media, and do this. And it would be disingenuous for me to be salty over the fact that Shapiro's got more money than me and more opportunity than I do to get you on there, while still observing the fact that this is actually going to be a good thing for you. So, congratulations, Allison. Absolutely. Congratulations. We're not going to be salty about this. And that's why I deleted the tweet, because I was salty, and this is a good thing. This is a very good thing. Here's a nice one here to come back and talk about, because we're going to start to see the second class of citizen affect people that Democrats don't want to have as second class of citizen because of certain things that they have done in the past that they're trying to run away from right now. From the New York Post. Stand with Kiri, mob of anti-vaxxers storm Barclays Center. From Brian Lewis and Jorge Fitzgibbon. A mob of anti-vaxxers stormed Brooklyn's Barclays Center Sunday as violence erupted at a rally to support Nets hoopster Kyrie Irving, who refused to receive a COVID-19 vaccine. Hundreds gathered outside the team's home arena to support Irving, chanting, "No vaccine mandate," and stand with Kyrie before a breakaway group stormed the barricades, a wild Twitter video shows. The footage shows security personnel trying in vain to hold back the crowd, but being quickly overwhelmed as a handful of protesters break through and make for the front doors. The mob shouted about Nazi passports and let Kyrie play, and waved signs and "Don't tread on me" flags as they gathered outside the arena. A number of protesters are seen wearing BLM t-shirts. The unrest comes as the Nets played the Charlotte Hornets on Sunday without Irving suited up. Look at all those white supremacists out there, those white supremacist anti-vaxxers. Look at all of them. Look at all those white supremacists right there. Those Trump voters. Look at all of them. Yeah, white supremacy on the rise. Look at it. So, well, it's going to be interesting to see how the media tries to run with that, if they even talk about it at all. Alright, we are getting close to the end here, folks. I know, like I said, this was going to be a long show, but we were over 40 articles today. We're getting there. Afghan teen facing rape charge is part of resettlement program. From Connor McCauley. Out of Missoula, the Montana Department of Public Health and Human Services say an Afghan man arrested last week in Missoula is in the country as part of the federal resettlement program. John Ebelt with the DPHHS says Zabihullah Mohammed, 19, was placed in the Montana as part of the federal Afghan placement and assistance program. Mohammed is charged with one count of sexual intercourse without consent after an incident in downtown Missoula. Court documents say staff at Residence Inn by Marriott reported a disturbance between Mohammed and a woman around 4:15 Sunday morning. According to the charging affidavit, the 18-year-old victim called police around 4:30 to report she'd been raped at a hotel downtown. The victim, identified in court documents as Jane Doe, told police that she had met Mohammed at the Badlander along with other people. When the group left, the woman went with Mohammed to his hotel room. She says he forced himself on her and raped her. Mohammed said the woman seemed to like him and claims all sexual acts were consensual. Well, this unfortunately is going to come down to a point of he said, she said, and I don't know what happened. I don't want to make the accusation of the guy. I do know that there are parts of the culture that go along with Afghan and Islam that are questionable as far as what's consensual and what's not, or what they consider to be consensual and what isn't. I don't want to go too far into that for risk of being culturally insensitive and triggering the Susan censors. As far as I know, though, I don't know if anything is going to come off of this. I don't know if who was in the wrong with this, who was in the right. I know we do see plenty of instances out there where a regret comes afterwards. And all of a sudden it's rape. And I don't know if this is going to be the case. I don't know if this dude actually did rape her. I don't know where any of this is or where this goes, or if this is just fodder out there to get more of the anti-immigrant people out there to come up out of the woodwork and say, hey, I'm going to get rid of all them there Middle Eastern immigrants there, because the only Middle Eastern people I care about are them ones there from Israel, because they're our greatest ally. And that's where the Bible took place, isn't it? I don't know what this is. I don't know where this is going to go and what's going to happen with this. But this is going to be an interesting one to watch, especially given the fact that we also see the child bride stories as well. All right, let's keep going. A fact checker from the Associated Press: Facebook hasn't changed its hate speech policy to ban anti-Biden phrase. From Sophia Tulp: claim Facebook has changed its hate speech policy to include posts that use the phrase "Let's go Brandon." The Associated Press's assessment: false. A tweet alleging that Facebook changed its policy on hate speech to prohibit the phrase "Let's go Brandon" was meant to be satirical, the post's author told the Associated Press. A Facebook spokesperson also confirmed to the Associated Press that the company had not changed its policy to ban the slogan, which is popular among critics of President Biden. The facts: a tweet shared Wednesday by conservative commentator Jeff Charles jokingly alleged that the social media company had amended its hate speech policy to ban accounts from using the phrase "Let's go Brandon," a meme created by opponents of Biden. Charles told the Post that his post was satirical. His Twitter bio also states, "I spit hot satire." However, many social media users spread the incorrect claim, seemingly believing it was true. Numerous users condemned the supposed action by Facebook, arguing that it infringed on the freedom of speech. Now, I was in a Discord chat last night, a voice chat with some people off the the Real Off Hours Discord, a breakaway from the Beauty and the Beta Discord, and there was a member in there that also claimed that he is on a 30-day Facebook hiatus that was not of his choosing because of the fact that he used the phrase "Let's go Brandon." I do not know if this is true or not. I cannot tell you if this is true or not, but that is what he claims. So there are claims out there that this is actually happening to people. And the Associated Press is quite quick to come out and say, oh yes, no, this absolutely didn't happen. Don't look over here. All right. Let's keep going. U.S. military says it killed Al-Qaeda leader in drone strike. From the Associated Press. The U.S. military says it's killed a senior Al-Qaeda leader in an airstrike Friday in northwest Syria. Oh, is that like the ISIS-K leader that you killed outside of a car in Afghanistan? or the ones that you killed in the building in Afghanistan. Army Major John Rigsby, a spokesman for CENT Command, said in a statement that Abdul Hamid al-Matar was killed by a drone strike. Rigsby said the killing of al-Matar will disrupt al-Qaeda's ability to further plot and carry out global attacks threatening U.S. citizens, our partners, and innocent civilians. He said al-Qaeda uses Syria as a base for threats reaching into Syria, Iraq, and beyond. You don't say, huh? So you killed. You absolutely know that you killed an al-Qaeda member. Oh, yes. Huh. Indeed. Jared Rabel tweets out in response to this. My condolences to the little girl with the lemonade stand that this drone just took out. Speaks for itself. Thank you, Jared Rabel. From Reuters, this came to us from our friend Golden Leaf. NRA lawsuit gives SCOTUS a chance to confront Second Amendment's roots in racism. This is an op-ed. From Hassan Kanu. The U.S. Supreme Court will soon have its first opportunity in more than a decade to redefine the scope of gun rights and confront the link between the Second Amendment and slavery that it has previously overlooked. No. The justices next month will hear a challenge, backed by the NRA, to New York State restrictions on concealed handguns in public. The NRA and two gun owners are claiming the restrictions violate the Second Amendment, arguing that Americans have unfettered right to carry guns in public for self-defense. Conservative justices are expected to extend into the public sphere the gun rights established by the court in 2008 and 2010 for protection inside the home. The court's 2008 ruling in District of Columbia versus Heller entrenched the two dominant narratives in the political battle over gun control and has defined much of our public history on guns and citizenship. In the 5-4 ruling, conservative justices determined that the Second Amendment was originally intended to grant an individual right to have guns tied to self-defense and unconnected with militia service such as the National Guard. Well, yes, if you were a male in this country above the age of 13, you were the militia. You were the National Guard. And that's part of the reason that there is nobody in the world that is stupid enough to try a ground invasion anywhere. Like I always say, if they try to come in through the Boston Harbor, and that's the coastline, the part of the coastline that I know, if they try to come in through the Boston Harbor and come in and mount a ground offense on somewhere, they'll come in through the Boston Harbor, they'll get to about Dorchester, they'll be so riddled with fucking bullet holes that they won't know what to do with, and if any of them manage to get past Dorchester and get into the rest of it, they'll probably face little opposition through the rest of the western suburbs, out to 495. And then once you get past that, once you get out to Ware and Worcester, you'll meet up with the rednecks, past Worcester, into Ware, and Springfield, and you'll be fucked up all over again. And that's assuming you go in through the Boston Harbor. If you go in through LA, the port of LA, and dock there and come in for a ground invasion, the Crips and Bloods will finish you off. And that's just the people who aren't supposed to have guns. Think about all the legal gun owners that you're going to run into off of this. We are still a part of the militia, by the way. Yeah, Chaos Soul says same for Georgia. But yes, they're going to come back here and continue to try to tie this off to fucking slavery. Oh, well, they had the Second Amendment so they could keep their slaves in line. Bitch. If the slaves had a Second Amendment, they wouldn't be slaves. Just so you know. Anyway, that's coming up here. Something we do need to pay attention to, and we had to skip this on Friday because we ran out of time and I had to go to work. But this is from Christian Headlines. Pray, 17 Christian missionaries kidnapped in Haiti while traveling to orphanage. From Michael Faust. A Christian missionary organization is requesting a prayer after 17 of its workers were kidnapped in Haiti on Saturday by gang members alongside Aroke. Christian Aid Ministries, which is based in Ohio, said in a statement, the workers consisted of 5 men, 7 women, and 5 children. 16 are U.S. citizens, 1 is a Canadian citizen. The organization called an urgent prayer request and said the workers were abducted while on a trip to visit an orphanage on Saturday. We're seeking God's direction for a resolution. Authorities are seeking ways to help, the organization said in a statement. Join us in praying for those who are being held hostage, the kidnappers, the families, friends, churches of those affected. I just want to double check this because this is Leftover Friday articles. 80-ish. I just want to see if there has been an update. Looks like they are still being held hostage right now, so we'll continue to use the ones I have left over. According to this. Let's see. Dan Hooley, former field director for Christian Aid Ministries in Haiti, told CNN that some of the workers are able to contact a local director as they're being kidnapped. One of the workers also shared the location of the kidnapping using GPS, Hooley said. So, yes, we have a large amount of peaceful missionaries in Haiti that are currently being held as hostage. I don't know what the demands are at this point, so I'm actually looking to see if there are demands. Does not look like this article gives anything on the demands. Let's see what the Daily Wire has to say. Haitian gang threatens to kill American Christian missionaries if ransom is not paid, from Ryan Saavedra. The leader of a Haitian gang that has kidnapped 16 American missionaries has threatened to kill the hostages if his ransom demands, $1 million per hostage, are not paid. I prefer that thunder burns me. If I don't get what I need, you see those Americans, I will prefer to kill them, and I will unload a big weapon to each of their heads, the leader of the gang known as 400 Mawozo, Wilson Joseph said in the video, according to the New York Times, a former newspaper. I mean what I said, and that's it. The Times said that their sourcing for Joseph's remarks included 2 people who were present when the threat was made and recorded on video. A total of 17 people were kidnapped, including 1 Canadian. So, it's cash. It's cash. They're holding people's lives on the line for cash. In Haiti. Well, say a prayer for them. Let's hope that we can get this all resolved off of here and figure out what's going on. I hope nobody has to die, but unfortunately I do think that that's not going to be the case in this point. Alright. From 7 News out of Boston. Police, Amazon driver disguised as woman, took videos of women, young girls in bathroom at Rentham outlets. Which, by the way, is odd because I've also been to this particular outlet mall before. I'm familiar with this place. An Amazon driver is facing criminal charges after authorities say he dressed up as a woman and used a small camera to take obscene videos of women and young girls in bathrooms at the Rentham outlets. Load the wood chipper, boys. Jacob M. Guerrero, 23, of Woonsocket, was arraigned on 1 charge of possessing child porn Tuesday after prosecutors asked the judge to hold arraignment on 11 other charges of possession of child porn and photographing an unsuspecting nude person. Police say they launched an investigation on August 24th after they received a call from customers at the Rentham outlets reporting a man who appeared to be dressed as a woman acting suspiciously in the woman's bathroom. An investigation revealed that Guerrero was wearing a blonde wig when he entered the restroom with a pen camera fastened to a sneaker and occupied a stall next to adjoining stalls that women and girls were using, police said. Guerrero was initially arrested on September 2nd on the charge of photographing an unsuspected nude person, but he was released after posting bail that same day. A subsequent search of Guerrero's car and phone uncovered sufficient evidence to secure a second arrest warrant for the possession of CP, including 240 photos and 23 videos, where the unsuspecting victims were either nude or partially nude, according to police. Police say cell phone data shows the images were taken in several cities and towns, including video taken of a 10 or 11-year-old girl outside of a bedroom window in Norfolk. Yeah, there's one thing for this, and that's it. What a sick fuck. Alright, URI student, speaking of that region of the country, under fire after sending racist message to NFL player. The University of Rhode Island is condemning a racist social media post allegedly sent by one of their students on campus to an NFL player. Miami Dolphins player Emmanuel Ogba posted a screenshot of the racist message, writing, "I normally ignore stuff like this, but this is uncalled for." The post, which quickly garnered thousands of comments, was removed after being up for nearly a day. Twitter users alerted URI leaders, who sent out a letter to students and staff addressing it. The letter read in part, "The university learned today of an offensive, unaccessible, racist comment posted on social media earlier today, allegedly by one of our students. This language is abhorrent and has no place in a community that is deeply committed to anti-racism." Vice President of Student Affairs Kathy Collins spoke to ABC6 News following the post, stating that the university is not taking the incident lightly. According to Collins, it was referred to the university student conduct process review, where there will be a conduct hearing. Due to the Federal Family, Educational Rights and Privacy Act, the university cannot release the individual's name or information about what decision is made following that hearing. Well, there shouldn't be any sort of anything off of this. This is another cancel culture fucking bullshit situation where what this kid did, except for the fact that he went to the University of Rhode Island, has absolutely nothing to do with the University of Rhode Island. And yes, well, what this kid did was insanely fucking stupid and bigoted and racist. That is between him and Twitter. That is not between him and the University of Rhode Island. That is between him and Twitter and the users of Twitter and the people who believe that he is a virulent, bigoted fucking racist. And with that, yeah, there's no part of this. There's no reason whatsoever at all to have the university involved in this, except for the fact that a bunch of people got onto Twitter, looked at the fact that this guy said this, and decided he has no place in decent society and he shouldn't be allowed to go and get a job or work or be any part of society anymore because he said the wrong thing. So they have to go after his employer, they have to go after his school, they have to go after his parents' employers, I bet they'll go after them, his parents' schooling, everything else that goes off of this. If you don't toe with the party line, you have to starve to death. And yes, I think this was an abhorrent thing for him to do. I think this was a horrible thing for him to do, but he doesn't deserve to not be able to earn a living or eat because of it. That's between him and a potential prospective employer, whether or not they want to associate with him, but the fact that they spam out and say, "Oh, well, this guy goes to your school, so he said this racist thing, so you have to go back and do something." Fuck you. Fuck you. Alright, let's keep going. I got just a couple more, then we will do the rule of acquisition for the week, and then we'll move on here. We're almost done. We're almost there. That's the one you muted him on? I mean, that's what you're there for, is to mute, and I trust your judgment, but that's the one you muted him on? Not when he was going after St. Fauci of medicine? I mean, it's fine. And Sir Totes, you're welcome back, by the way. After this, after your mute is up. But I do trust the judgment of my mods. So if he says you need to be timed out, you're timed out. I'm not going to question him. Well, I just did question him, but they have free reign. Let's see. We got just a couple more here. Fed to ban policymakers from owning individual stocks. Restrict trading following controversy. Good. When is the fucking Senate next? Good. No, this is moving in the right direction. This is absolutely moving in the right direction. And this might actually cause the stock market to have the correction it needs so desperately too, because when the insider people can't come back and prop up what they want to prop up here again, that's gonna fuck over the rest of us too. People actually have to make decisions without insider. Excuse me. Without insider information. That one kind of snuck up on me. From Jeff Cox. Responding to a growing controversy over investing practices, the Federal Reserve announced Thursday a wide-ranging ban on officials owning individual stocks and bonds and limits on other activities as well. The ban includes top policymakers, such as those who sit on the Federal Open Market Committee, along with senior staff. Future investments will have to be confined to diversified assets such as mutual funds. Oh, so they still get to invest and do what their buddies tell them to, or do what their information tells them to. They still get to go invest in that. They can't do it individually anymore. They just have to go to a mutual fund. That's totally not going to get abused and told that you have to invest in this certain thing, otherwise we're going to pull all our billions of fucking dollars back out of this. This is fucking nothing at that point. That little clause right there, which, once again, I am in big favor of this. I don't think that anybody in government, the Federal Reserve, the Senate, or the House, or the presidency should be allowed to own any individual stocks. But this little clause right here makes this entire thing fucking worthless and useless. Fed officials can no longer have holdings in shares of particular companies, nor can they invest in individual bonds. Individual bonds, that would be a conflict of interest in and of itself. You print the fucking bonds, you're the Federal Reserve. Hold agency securities or derivative contracts. The new rules replace existing regulations that, while somewhat restrictive, still allowed officials such as regional presidents to buy and sell stocks. No, get them out of the fucking mutual funds too. If you work for the federal money supply, then you should not allow, or the federal government in and of itself, you should not be allowed to own individual stocks because you do have insider information. These tough new rules raise the bar high in order to assure the public we serve that all of our senior officials maintain a single-minded focus on the public mission of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell said in a statement, after he himself got fucking popped for this. Under the new rules, officials will have to provide 45 days notice in advance of buying or selling any securities that are still allowed. They will also be required to hold securities for at least a year. They cannot buy or sell funds during the heightened financial market stress, a news release announced. The move said. No, just disallow them from owning mutual funds, stocks, bonds, or otherwise. That's how you fix this. That is how you fix this. And then the market will be truly consumer-driven at that point, instead of the federal government making it do what it wants to do. All right, one more. Soaring fuel costs. United CEO warns price for holiday flights will spike. Gas prices hit 7-year high, soared to nearly $8 in a California town. $8 a gallon. Are you fucking kidding me? From Paul Saka. The CEO of United Airlines has warned that prices for flights during the busy holiday season will spike. United Airlines CEO Scott Kirby said the surging fuel prices are to blame for the upcoming travel prices that are expected to balloon. Higher jet fuel prices lead to higher ticket prices, Kirby told CNBC. Ultimately, we'll pass that through. Yes, that's how an economy works. Congratulations, you've cracked the code. That's why this whole tax the rich thing is being questioned right now, because they're not going to pay that tax. You're going to pay that tax through increased product costs. Because it's going to cost more to hire a person, it's going to cost more to build a product, and it's going to cost more to keep the fucking doors open. Where do you think that money comes from? It's not thin air. Let's see. Kirby did not speculate on exactly how much airline fares would increase. However, United Airlines anticipates an average price of $2.39 a gallon in the fourth quarter. That's an increase from a $2.14 a gallon price in the third quarter and a $2.02 average the airline paid in the fourth quarter of 2019. But it isn't only jet fuel that's spiking. Americans are paying more at the pump. Typically around this time of the year, gasoline prices usually trend downwards, which is weird because this is when heaters are starting to turn on and oil is starting to crunch. But yes, people are traveling a little bit less, so there is that. But usually now, yeah, the heating oil and the gas companies are competing for the same oil. But the opposite is happening. Generally, after the summer travel season, gas prices decrease as fewer people are driving around on vacation and more people settle back into work and school. As of Sunday, the national average price of a gallon of regular gas was $3.38.5, a 7-year high. Prices are sky high compared to just a year ago when the cost was $2.16.3, according to the AAA. The state that has felt the most pain at the pump is California. No shit there. The average price for a gallon of regular in California is a whopping $4.54.4. If you need to fill up your tank in the coastal town of Gorda, in between LA and San Francisco, you'll pay a whopping $7.59 a gallon for regular unleaded, and premium will cost you nearly $8.50. Patrick DeHaan, head of petroleum analysis for fuel savings app Gas Buddy, said the rising gas prices is kind of a twofold issue. First of all, China is running perilously low on coal to fire its power plants, and as a result, they're buying as much coal and natural gas as oil as they can, DeHaan explained. NACS, the Global Trade Association, dedicated to advancing convenience and fuel retailing, gave an explanation to the high gas prices. In short, as always, it's always about oil prices, which are the dominant factor in the price of a gallon of gasoline. NACS stated on October 20th, oil prices were around 85 cents per barrel. Exactly 2 months earlier, they were 65 per barrel. There are 42 gallons in a barrel of oil, so every dollar increase in a barrel equates to 2.4 cents per gallon. Half the millennial generation can't do that math. Those looking for relief from soaring gas prices shouldn't turn to President Biden for help because he's already admitted he has no near-term solution. During the town hall event last week, CNN anchor Anderson Cooper asked President Biden when the surging gas prices would start to come back to earth. And he said, "I need TV for my bunghole." My guess is you'll start to see gas prices come down as we get by and going into the winter. I mean, excuse me, in next year, 2022. Biden responded, "I don't see anything in the meantime that's going to significantly reduce gas prices. Come on, man." You should also prepare for your home heating bill to increase this winter. And like I said, anything that you can do at this point to lower your fuel oil cost, and it might bump up your electric cost, I'm going to admit that. But check into seeing, first off, how your electric is distributed and how it's made in your area. If it's oil, you're kind of fucked. You're going to be in the same place. If it's oil burn on a turbine to heat the water to spin the turbine, you're kind of fucked. But if you're hydro, if you're nuclear, if you're coal even though that's going to be a shortage, that's going to fucking hit you in the wallet too. If you're any of these other types and not your plant is in an oil heat, you are probably going to be better off using electric heat than oil heat. This is not official financial advice, But it's the same thing. Maybe you'll do a lot of baking. Maybe you'll do a lot of cooking in the oven. Maybe you won't go and do that steak grilled outside in the dead of winter like I plan to do this winter. Maybe you won't do those things. Instead, do more of your cooking inside and let the stove be the thing that heats your house. Or get a nice pot of soup in the slow cooker. That'll keep your kitchen warm for a little while, take an ease off the heating bill. Yeah, like I said, it'll bump up your electric bill a little bit, but it'll take a chunk off your heating, at least, especially if you're in an oil-heated place. And these are some of the things we gotta make sure. We're going into what is supposed to be one of the coldest winters in a long time on record. As far as temperature goes, it's probably not going to be a lot of snow, but a lot of cold. So adjust accordingly, because I don't want to see anybody in the poorhouse for oil. And I don't want to be there either. But we will see what comes back here. And that is it for the news, and the last thing that we do on a Monday is one of the Ferengi rules of acquisition. We are past 10, which makes this the longest episode of Contemporary ever, by the way. Just so you know, we do one of the rules of acquisition every Monday. What did we do last week? We're getting down there. We're getting into this. That's for sure. Last one we did was what's in it for me. And I told you that, yeah, we do need to go with what's in it for you. You do need to make sure that when you make yourself out into a deal or put something of yourself out there, you do need to make sure that you are taken care of as well. Alright, so we have another one here from another DS9 novel that didn't actually make it into the show canon. The 30th rule of acquisition. Confidentiality equals profit. There is some truth to this here, and it's not just what goes off here. Now, of course, with the Ferengi becoming rigid capitalists, and they're what's wrong with the galaxy, and that's all they do. That you have that off of here, where the Ferengi would try to cheat you out of something, and no refunds. This is what it is, and I didn't tell you about any of the bad stuff about this project that I just sold you because I want to have your money, and that's the end of it. That's what the image of the Ferengi is supposed to be on this. But I mean, let's look at this realistically. Confidentiality equals profit. Realistically, let's look into some of the things of this. Now, if you have come out and you've made a new product, a brand new product that nobody else has, and unfortunately this is some of the things that drug companies are doing, except for the fact that they're also using the federal government to enforce this, but if you've got a new drug that you're putting onto the market, you've got a proprietary patent, yes, you're going to gouge prices a little bit. Or if you've got a new kind of food, a new formula that tastes great and doesn't make you fat. Like Bang. Let's use that for an example. Which, by the way, if you've never tried this whole lot of chocolate Bang, and I don't usually do the product placement, there's a reason I use the plastic reusable cup instead of the can when I do this, or on screen anyway. But if you've never tried that one, it's delicious. But with Bang, we'll use that for an example. Bang has made a way to make an energy drink that doesn't crash you to the ground immediately as soon as it wears off, that affects and gives you the CoQ10 that helps with your brain function, which is part of the reason it doesn't crash you down to the ground as fast as it does, or other energy drinks do when you drink them. That tastes great, that's also 0 calorie, 0 carb. They've come up with a proprietary formula that is, as far as I understand, entirely secretive, and that their competitors can't do. I can't drink Rain. Rain actually gives me chest pains, and Bang has more caffeine than Rain does, so it's not the caffeine that's in the Rain. But there's an ingredient in there that my body does not seem to like for whatever reason, and Bang doesn't affect me off of this. So there's a proprietary one that Bang uses, and yeah, they could go back and charge even more per can if they wanted to, because there's no competitor to come out there and drive the prices down. Confidentiality has equal profit at this point, and that's the same thing. If you've got a product out there, something else out there that doesn't make people sick, you don't want that to get out there, because then your competitors can go make it, cut costs around you, drive the price down, and you lose off on your profits. So confidentiality, it really does equal profit. It really does. It makes life better for you. It makes life easier for you. And yeah, you absolutely should. If you're going to be making something, be confidential about it. Don't let it out. Let your opponents out there try to reverse engineer it. If they do have to come out and make a generic opposition to you. Force them to reverse engineer. Don't tell them how it's made. Be confidential about it. Protect your profit, protect your assets, and make sure that you can be profitable in this world. And enter the golden treasury into the next world. And that's going to be it for the day. As the Hyrule music pops in, let's get out of here. We got to change up the track here, and let's go, let's go, let's go. All right, well, thank you everybody who came by and chatted in the live chat, came and hang out with us, and, you know, even Sir Toad's coming back here with his message. Like I say, you're always welcome here. My mods have free reign, so I trust them. I trust their decision making. I was a little bit surprised that you let all the other rope comments go, but that was the one that pushed him over the edge. But that's Quest's independent decision making, and I'm not going to question it, so let him do what it is that he has to do. Come join us later on tonight, 5:30 Central Time, for the RedNet Show, featuring the wonderful Bobby Joe, who is our web developer. We'll be talking the news, and she'll be promoting some of her work and some of the things that she's been doing as well, so go and check that out. Otherwise, we'll be back here tomorrow morning with more Contemporary. We are finally going to go in and join my friend, Stephen Ignoramus. We are way late for his show at this point because we had a whole bunch of stuff to get to. We got through it all. We're going to head out of here for the day. And until then, we will see you next time. And I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Take care.